Thank you for your patience, everybody. Apologies for the technical difficulty that we've just experienced, but we are ready to get back underway with our match here with James Hurrell and Stefan Belmont. So let's go straight back down to the stage. Matt, it's been a decent game so far, but as it stands, Stefan Belmont has taken the first leg in 12 darts with a 1-2-1 finish on the bull. What has Hurrell got to do now that he's in the hole a little bit?
I think that could actually help him a little bit because it was going only one direction. And just so you know, you've not missed a single dart thrown. We are picking it back up. There's a break in play, and we'll continue.
134.
However, I think it helps James Hurrell because Stefan Belmont looked, for all the match which we've seen so far, completely in control of it, but in control of his own emotions as well.
100.
And playing
James
to a level we haven't seen from
47.
him yet.
Double top it is for Hurrell. Looking to get his own 12 darter.
Game on the second leg.
Maybe
James
you're right,
Hurrell.
Matt. Maybe he did take something from that little timeout.
Feel like it's James to throw
at the
first.
start.
Game on.
This is already the best game of the night.
When you go up on stage for a game you need to win, and your opponent breaks you straight away with a 12 darter, that pause is very, very welcomed because
125.
in darts call the old timeout. I'm pretty sure after someone gets one of them hit into them, they'd be chucking up the old tees.
140.
Would you be an advocate to bring timeouts into darts? Would you allow these players to maybe have 2 timeouts on finals night, for example?
So I'd like to bring psych outs like in
100.
basketball. Stand in front of the hockey trying to distract the opponent. That'd be a different game, wouldn't it?
I'm not sure it would catch on, but it would be rather exciting to watch.
81.
Belmont's played 23 games this week and hit 24 maximums, almost exactly 1 maximum per game. His best average so far in a match, 93.91. If he was to better that a couple of times in this group, he could win the group. He had a really good time of it on the doubles. On Thursday when he won 4 from 4. He was 50% on the doubles. It's not the only time this week that he's shown a lot of prowess on the outer ring.
140.
But he hasn't had the most darts at double this week. That's Bialeki. Over 230 darts at double coming into finals
92.
night. Belmont,
James requirement 53.
almost 200. Key moment here as Hurrell goes for tops. This has got to start working.
13.
And it doesn't. He can't
Stefan
believe
requirement
it.
94.
It's been his sort of secret weapon all week, that tops. Not working for him tonight. He's opted here, Stefan Belmont, to do the old school route, as we now call it, the bulls and 25, which
69.
gives you that dart at the bullseye.
James requirement 40.
Wasn't the successful one. And James Hurrell, chance to turn this one around.
Stefan couldn't have asked for a better marker in that bullseye area.
James on the third
He couldn't
leg.
take advantage
James
of it,
Hurrell.
but James finally gets leg 3. That scenario of 4 legs to 1 for Hurrell
Stefan
to qualify
first.
is still alive. He needs to win the next 2 legs, and he will be safe. He probably doesn't care whether he wins the group right now.
180.
It's all about just getting through. But we're seeing more maximums in this game than any game so far tonight. We've already got 3. And look at this average from Belmont, who's losing.
43.
So what you're saying is he needs to play a lot poorer and then he can win.
57.
He hasn't averaged this after 3 legs at any point this week. It's not doing him any favours. But the signs are good for him to get back into the match. Unless Hurrell goes a little bit crackers like he did against Scott Mitchell
100.
on a Thursday afternoon. He was in record territory when he played Mitchell, and he was within one dart of registering the second best
44.
average in the history of this tournament. But Mitchell took it 100 and denied him the shot. He ended up settling for 106.34 average, which is one of his best displays here.
Yeah, I think I'd settle for that as well.
180.
You'd kind of just pass it, wouldn't you? Like 106 average.
But it was well above that. In fact, most of the match it was over 120.
60.
We thought he was going to break the record. He just didn't get the opportunity to do so. I think we've already seen in the audience that James is favoured by our patrons more than Stefan Belmont, who has
58.
only got one
Stephen, you require
supporter
160.
in this audience.
Sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you don't need any, as long as you
100.
believe it.
James, you require 120.
This has got Hurrell's name written all over it.
Scored, yeah.
That was a slightly awkward first dart. He was trying to cushion that second one over the top, but it was a bit too fiery. He's thinking about what to do. He knows exactly what to do. But
60.
look at the experience of Belmont
Stephen,
in
you
the
require
background.
60.
He was made to wait, so he went to the table, took a drink, and used up the time. Double top for Belmont.
20.
He misses.
James, you require 60.
4 shots at a double in the match and only 1 hit. Same checkout now for James.
We said the formula for James Hurrell, if he wants to guarantee his qualification in his own
James
hands,
on the
is to
foreplay.
win this match
James
4-1.
Hurrell.
That is a break of throw for James Hurrell, and he will now be throwing first to give himself that equation.
Fifth leg, it's
and put
James to throw
himself
first.
straight through.
Game
to be
on.
the first name in the semi-final lineup.
Well, it's a funny thing that you say there, Matt, because if Hurrell does win this one by 4 legs to 1, it would mean that Belmont would have to beat Andy Bolton 4-1.
119.
And we did mention something in Group 2 a little bit earlier tonight about Alexander Merkx and how he would have to beat Scott Mitchell 4-0 to guarantee qualification. That is one of the scenarios.
57.
The other one is if Bialeki beats Mitchell, then it would be a straight shootout between Mitchell and Merkx in Game 6. We'll get to that in due course.
140.
All the ifs, and if that happens, this is why I love a Saturday night. When I'm sat in this chair, it's not so good on the other side of the wall.
Bit more stressful on the other side, is it?
128.
It can do, and you can just feel the tension a little bit more in there. Through the week, it's a bit more boisterous, a bit more joyful, but it's a lot more serious on Saturday. And Scott Mitchell was telling us
140.
exactly that earlier on, wasn't he? That everyone's coming with game heads on tonight.
Very quiet practice room this evening. Everybody earphones in, very little chatter.
78. James, you require
That
102.
treble doesn't really do Stefan any favours. Hurrell is 2 darts from qualifying for the semis. Double 16.
Game
He
shot
knows
out of
it.
the match.
And now everybody
James
else knows
Hurrell.
it. James Hurrell has got to the magical formula of 2 points and +1 in leg difference. His participation in the Final 4 is guaranteed. A 98.3 average with 57% on the doubles. It's a high-quality start to the night, and he's got more games to come. Belmont will have to come back to try and get it done against Bolton a little bit later on. Group 2 is coming up after the break.
This is the MODUS Super Series. $182.
Joe Taylor, Garrett Tilley, and board 2, Craig Nixon, Robin Young.
Every Saturday, we open our doors for our weekly finals night.
For a unique and intimate darts experience.
Meet the Dart Stars and even the team off the telly.
Here at our purpose-built venue in Portsmouth.
Every single Saturday evening.
Tickets can be booked via this QR code
Or at www.dartshop.tv for a very small booking fee.
Follow us at MSS Darts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and TikTok.
For all the latest ticketing news.
All you need to do, log on, book, turn up, and the action gets underway from 7:30 p.m.
So what are you waiting for?
Get your tickets to the darts.
We look forward to welcoming you to the MODUS Super Series very soon.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series here from the Live Lounge in Portsmouth, where James Hurrell is our first player through to the semi-finals from 10 p.m. this evening, and he's downstairs talking to Phil.
James, many congratulations. The first man through to the semi-finals. Just sum up how you're feeling.
To be fair, mate, I didn't even realise I was through until I just met you about 5 minutes ago. So, yeah, unbelievable, yeah, perfect.
Having lost your first game, what was the pressure like going into that game?
I didn't really feel any pressure, to be fair. I'm playing quite well, to be fair, but I just missed a few doubles against Andy and I just sorted them out then, to be fair, against Stefan.
Yeah, look, the pressure to get through is huge because it means so much to everyone. So now you can relax in that back room. Must be a nice feeling.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, have a bit of a chit-chat with the rest and that and try and stop Scott Mitchell from talking. Yeah, we're away.
Now it's knockout darts. Is that where you're going to thrive?
Hopefully. Hopefully. Give me another beer and another half an hour of practice and I'll be away.
James, congratulations, and we'll see you in the semi-finals.
Cheers, bud. Nice one.
James Hurrell there speaking to Phil Bars after making his way through following that 4-1 victory against Stefan Belmont, who is going to have to wait to the final game of the session to see whether he's going to make it through against Andy Bolton. Well, it's time to get into the middle match as far as Group 2 is concerned here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. Pits together the former world champion Scott Mitchell up against Sebastian Bialeki. We saw him get the better of Alexander Merkx by 4 legs to 1 in his opening game of the evening. By virtue of that, a couple of legs is enough for the pole to qualify for the semi-finals. But Scotty Dog here on, well, similarly to home turf here on a Saturday night. He's looking to get that bit of bite here on the Saturday night. Right, let's get into the action then and join the boys down in commentary. It's Matt Edgar and Paul Nicholson.
Let's get it on then in Group 2 with Game 2. And it's time to greet the Farmy Army. Because Scott Mitchell has got more people here than anybody else. Lonely old Lods' own Sebastian Bialeki needs 2 legs in this game, and he will be through come what may. But this is the 53-year-old from Dorset, one of the Dorset greats. He's got Dorset County players with him in the audience, and the family are here as well.
First leg, it's Sebastian to throw first. Game on.
Sebastian started with a win. 4 legs to 1 against Alexander Merkx. And right now, Matt, you've got to agree that Alex wants
140.
Sebastian to win this match to make it easier for him when he plays Mitchell in Game 6.
Yeah, it gives him the opportunity of just a straight shootout, doesn't it? Because what you don't want to do is go into games having to think about doing it by a certain
60.
score line. You just want to focus on winning and results, and that's what a victory here for Sebastian Bialeki would do. In that last game, Mitchell and Merkx a good shootout.
96.
Just picking up on something there that James Hurrell said, and he spoke about stopping Scott Mitchell from talking. If he works out that formula, I reckon he could sell that and be a very rich man, because there'd be a lot of people ready to buy.
60.
I've got no comment about that. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Who we do have in the audience tonight,
87.
backing Scott Mitchell, we have a certain Tommy Morris, who was part of a finals night a couple of weeks ago. He won a Group A campaign as well. A great find. Heralded as the best player in Dorset at the minute. And we've also
100.
got Team Mitchell. Tommy is on the right-hand side of your screen there. Good to have you back, Tommy. We've got Scott's wife, Sharon.
94.
Daughter, Katie. We've also got the Dorset County captain out there, Mark Porter. He's played over 200 games for Dorset. And he's the man with the captain's armband at the minute.
140.
Every county needs a Mark Porter.
Sebastian, you require
Yes, they
84.
do. And they're very proud at the minute because they've just been promoted to the Premier Division for the first time in over 40 years of trying.
Game shown the
First blood,
first leg.
Bialeki.
Sebastian
I've got a
Bialeki.
really important question to ask you, Matt, because Mitchell came in here talking a little bit
Second leg,
earlier,
it's
and I
Scott to
said
throw first.
to him,
Game on.
is it an advantage to get Game 4 and Game 6 in qualifying tonight? Because almost every time when you come into this match,
60.
you have a double chance of qualifying. You know what your opponent needs to do. And the worst thing that could happen is losing Game 4, but you know that going into Game 6,
97.
if they're defeated, you've just got to beat them in a shootout. Is that an advantage?
This is the position you'd rather be in, I think, because especially the way the game's broke down, it's almost like having a free shot. And then if you miss, you've still got another opportunity. So it's like having an extra life. This is the
140.
absolute dream position to be in for me.
Do you know what I would liken it to? It's like being on a poker table and having the button, because you can see everything that happens before
100.
the dealer points to you and asks you what you want to do with your chips. Mitchell could call or raise right now, but even if he folds in the next hand, he could definitely cash in.
The important thing is
140.
he will get another hand, regardless. It is the absolute plum position.
81. Scott, you require 161.
Even James Hurrell is watching this game. He can't do any more. And he does have a fair bit of time off because he does have to wait until the semi-finals to play again. In every
97.
likelihood, it will be Hurrell in semi-final 2.
I mentioned at the
45.
very start of the show,
Scott, you require
Scott Mitchell
64.
will not be rushed, and he will control the pace of the game. Is Sebastian Bialeki just slowing down a bit too much here?
I don't think it suits him at all. At times this week he has sped up a little bit, but stayed
44.
in rhythm.
Can we make sure all phones are on silent, please? Second time.
Don't mess with Owen. He knows that these players deserve the best of
58.
order.
Scott, you require 20.
It's a tense atmosphere out there. And even though Sebastian is only
Game show on the
19 years of
second
age,
leg.
he's got a lot of
Scott
experience for a
Mitchell.
19-year-old. But when you're talking about experience here tonight, no one's got as much as Mitchell.
There is one
Delegate
thing
Sebastian
he
to
hasn't
throw first.
experienced.
Game on.
Despite having a PDC tour card for quite a couple of years, he never experienced a Euro tour. But he will. He
57.
has qualified for European Tour 12 through the associate qualifier. So Scott Mitchell will finally get his debut on the European circuit.
So strange, isn't it? You spend 2 years trying to qualify for European Tour events, don't get there, and as a result,
100.
lose your tour privileges. And then when you lose your card, you go to the associate member qualifier and you finally get there. It's so weird, but I'm so pleased that Scott is going to get that chance to do that.
100.
It's something that sort of bothered him because me and Scott Mitchell was in a group together about 7-8 weeks ago now. And we ended up talking about the stage and the environment here. And I said, it feels very similar throw-wise to
140.
that of a Euro tour due to the perception of board depth. And he goes, oh, thanks for reminding me that I've never played on one. And then he went and qualified about a week later.
But maybe playing here tonight will
180.
give him a little bit of an insight as to what it will be like. Bialeki gets his first maximum of the match. Mitchell would love to follow.
$140.
Barmy
Sebastian
Army might have gone balmy right there had he
164.
got that max. And at the top of our show today, we showed a 121 checkout from Mitchell.
Scott, you require
It
121.
remains his best finish of the week, which he hit on Thursday.
We could put a ×2 next to that, though. The ball.
96.
That would have been for a breaker throw as well.
Sebastian, you
But this
require
106,
106.
significant.
Yes, it is. He hits it. He's in the final 4 as well.
74.
He's had a dart for qualification.
Scott, you require 25.
When you get into that spot, you don't want to mess around.
You always wonder how much the players know. Is he aware that he only needs one more leg to guarantee qualification?
21.
It could still be this leg.
Sebastian, you require
James
32.
Hurrell said to Phil Bars earlier in his interview that he had absolutely no idea. Sometimes ignorance is bliss,
16.
but that's not bliss.
Scott, you
I think
require
that's the dart
4.
you were speaking about earlier, where it kicks across and sort of blocks the bed because anywhere near that equipment, and that was going into the middle of the 16s.
The House of Mad.
No score.
And he's left mad.
Sebastian, you require 16.
It's almost as if Bialecki's been ushered to the final 4. Another awkward shot.
Game
But
shown
this
the
time he
third
gets
leg.
it.
Sebastian Bialeki.
He reaches 2 points and a minimum of +1 in leg difference for his 2 games.
Fourth-legged
He's
Scott to
through.
throw first. Game on.
Who will join him? Will it be Merkx or will it be Mitchell? At this juncture, let's talk
140.
about how good Mitchell was in Group C over the last couple of days. 14 points with 2 other players, Junghans of Switzerland and James Hurrell.
96.
But by virtue of winning his very last game of that group, he won the group on leg difference. And it was a very fine display over the 10 matches he played. An average of 90.11, 36% on the doubles.
60.
I would classify that as very reliable.
Absolutely, and they're good numbers, but they're consistent numbers with the pattern and the trend that we're seeing throughout the year.
There's no
100.
weakness in his metrics at all. Over 90 in the average for the week. Tick. Doubles. Better than everybody who's ever played here as a collective. Tick. 11 maximums.
140.
More than 1 per game. Tick. 70% win ratio. That gets a tick. If he'd not qualified, it would have been very harsh.
98. Scott, you require 161.
I wonder what Alexander Merkx is thinking right now.
80 scored, yeah.
It's probably, come on, Sebastian.
137.
Switch down to the 19. He's got the required target. Aggressive play from Mitchell. After just 12
100.
darts. He's left himself
Scott,
on
you
the
require
12s.
24.
It's got a nice ring to this, hasn't it? Double 12 after 12. It's quite poetic. Creates the angle.
No
But
score.
hits the wrong double. How many
Sebastian,
times
you
have we seen
require
that tonight already?
107.
I make that 3 shots from 3 different players.
Bialek's the sort of player that punishes those mistakes. He's going to get a dart here at the double 14.
79. Scott, you
Good
require
effort there from
24.
Bialeki, and the Farmy army would have been sat heart in mouth.
Good guide or too close?
No score.
May have been
Sebastian, you require 28.
slightly too close for comfort.
Game on
Bialeki
the
is
fourth
3-1
leg.
up.
Sebastian Bialeki.
This is a great result so far for Alexander Merkx. And what he really craves now is Bialeki getting rid of this game quickly.
Fifth-legged Sebastian to throw first.
That
Game
would
on.
make Mitchell Merkx in Game 6 a straight shootout to see who joins this guy in the semis. But one more
90.
leg and Bialeki wins the group. That does come with a fringe benefit as well. It gives you the darts in the semis.
60.
And Bialeki would have a sizable break before that semi-final, because by winning Group 2, you're in semi-final 2.
We've still got another 2 games to go yet. Places to be
43.
decided. Stefan Belmont will take on Andy Bolton. And then Scott Mitchell will close us out. Here's Alexander Merkx.
140.
Is there additional pressure on your shoulders because you've sat in a chair in this room as well as being on that hockey?
Sat here now, I'll say yes.
100.
When you're in the mode of it, you certainly don't think of those things.
You know what? I feel a bit inferior, Matt. I'm not going to lie. Because Mitchell's done me no favours by making Saturday night. You know where I'm going with this? Chris Mason has won on a Saturday night
123.
and made a Champions Night before. You've made a Finals night. Mitchell's made a Finals night. It's almost making me want to come back and make a Finals night just so that we've
101.
all done it.
You're going to have to put your name in, aren't you? Although, then again, I don't think Henry Deacon's going to be making the finals night.
Yeah, I think that's pretty safe. but he's seen more finals night than anybody else.
100. Sebastian record 167.
To win the group, it's exactly 1/3 of 501. Bullseye.
142.
That would be some way
78.
to win the group.
And because Mitchell has sat in this chair, especially on Saturdays and finals nights, he will know that even if he was to lose this game, it would not be game over. And he knows he's got another opportunity.
54.
That double 12.
Sebastian, you
He's gonna have to
require
sort that out.
25.
If he comes back. But he's not
Game
coming
shot
back in this
on the
game.
match. Sebastian Bialeki.
19-year-old Sebastian Bialeki wins Group 2 by winning both of his games. He's halfway there tonight with a really solid display. He took his chances and he will be involved in semi-final 2 at around about 10:30 tonight. But as far as Mitchell's concerned, he has to beat Alexander Merkx to make the semis, and that is in Game 6. Before then, we will have Stefan Belmont and Andy Bolton to settle up Group 1.
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series. Paul Nicholson has joined me up here to analyse what we have seen so far this evening. We're 4 matches down for our evening session here on the South Coast. This is what we have seen so far this evening. As far as Group 1 is concerned, well, we've already seen the hillbilly James Hurrell make his way through. Defeating his first game to Andy Bolton was backed up by a 4-1 success against Stefan Belmont, meaning he had a positive legs difference after his 2 games. And we've just seen Sebastian Bialeki book his place in the final 4. Victories against Alexander Merkx and Scott Mitchell means it's going to be a last game shootout in Group 2. Paul Nicholson's been watching all the action up here. Let's start by talking about Sebastian. We were talking earlier on this week that ourselves, Matthew Edgar, wouldn't let Sebastian go under the radar tonight. Well, performances like that, he won't be.
Yeah, good performances. He has played better at times this week, but all you got to do is beat what's in front of you. And I think he's handled the nerves and the tension very well, because other people will have been fancied to maybe get through his group, and he's won it. So now he's got a nice break. He can focus on playing again at around 10:30 local time and then make an assault potentially on getting this title. He could play 2 games in a row at the end and be the person lifting the trophy.
As for James Hurrell, well, he lost to Andy Bolton, but again, really, he could have won himself and then backs up with victory in his next.
Yeah, this is exactly what you expect from James Hurrell, though, because when he's got his back against the wall, he just comes out swinging. And the fact that he didn't know that he was through by winning 4-1, maybe that was a strength. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. But ultimately, he did what he needed to do, and he can sit back and relax now and see who was going to join him.
Most certainly. We'll see that in a few minutes' time. But before we do that, we're going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into next week's action here at the Super Series. Now, we had a little bit of a look at next week's lineup, and this is up there, one of the very best we have ever seen in this competition. The defending champion, Luke Littler, is going to be back. The champion of champions, Leonard Gates, is going to feature. And I think the name that probably really is the one that stands out is Andy Barton's.
No probably about it. When you look at the Belgian connection for next week, Geert de Vos, Foxy's really good. Watch out for him. Barton's is absolutely brilliant. Watched him at a European Tour event recently, and he went on a ridiculous run of consecutive wins, winning 2 titles in Croatia. And we've been waiting a long time to get him here. It's about time, and we can't wait to have him here. But that Group A, I've got to be honest, I don't think I've ever been so excited about a Group A in my Super Series career, which is nearly 3 years.
Well, Group B and C is full of players that could potentially go under the radar. Matt Clark was in a leg of winning the 20k jackpot in Series 2. Harry Ward played well last time he was here. And David Cameron, the reigning World Seniors Masters champion, well, he got knocked out tonight by Neil Duff in that competition. So he's going to come into next week with a little bit of retribution on his mind.
Yeah, just a bit. I think when you let such a wonderful piece of silverware go, that really does light the fire under you, and you'll want to change or you want to substitute that with something like this. But I look at someone like Harry Ward, and I think that maybe this is what he needs right now. He plays darts more as a hobby these days than a career, but don't underestimate someone who's won a PDC title before and has still got a bucket full of talent.
Well, Luke Littler, our defending champion, is going to be back, and he really did light up the live lounge when he won the title. Beat Jacob Taylor in the final, and this place was electric that night.
It really was. I almost wish I was here because some of the things he did on that Saturday night, it was just a case of he was better than everybody else. He was head and shoulders above everybody else in Series 3. And I suppose the only thing that was missing in Series 3 was Raymond Smith. You could call him a lineal champion if you want, because he hasn't been back. But the fact that the defending champion is coming back from Series 3 to Series 4, it's a great thing. Just imagine if he was to do it again.
And I suppose we're waiting for someone to defend that title. Obviously, Conan Whitehead was unsuccessful in that task. Raymond Smith hasn't had the opportunity to do that.
No, he hasn't. I want to see Raymond back here on his own terms, of course. He's got a lot further to travel than Luke Littler because he's from the northwest of England. But he loves it down here, and it's going to be very hot next week, not just in temperature, but on that stage, it's going to be electric. I have a bit of a prediction. It's a bit of a punt. I think that record average might get broken next week.
Oh, there we go. That means you're going to have to tune in 9:30 Monday morning to see whether Paul Nicholson's prediction is going to be right. Right, let's get into the final couple of games worth of action here then, because Group 1's about to come to a conclusion. Stefan Belmont takes on Andy Bolton in our 5th game of the night. The situation's quite simple, really, as far as Andy Bolton is concerned. 4-2 win in his first game means that a couple of legs will be enough for him to make his way through. Stefan Belmont needs a 4-1 victory or better to make his way into the semi-finals. As for Andy Bolton, well, that was a typically X-factor performance in that first game.
He played really well at the end as well. When he got his chance to get over the line, he did it. And I think he's just so comfortable with playing best of 7 darts in this atmosphere. And he was the favourite for a reason, because he's been so close before. His interview with Phil Bars earlier tonight, talking about how he was just swept aside by Scott Taylor the last time he was here in a final, and he's hoping that nobody does that to him. Well, somebody could do that, but what about if he does it to somebody else and he finally gets his hands on the £5,000 in the trophy? Don't count him out, but this game is all about Belmont. It's not so much about Bolton just yet.
How much is it a case of the back's up against the wall? Do you, in that scenario, you've been involved in Grand Slams and tournaments like that, can you overplay the leg scenario, or is that an impossibility?
You can. I think sometimes it's a very organic situation. You either want to know what your situation is, or you just want to go up there and concentrate on one leg at a time. I once played in a Grand Slam, had absolutely no idea about the scenarios. I got beaten 5-1 by Steve Beaton, and I just looked at my manager in the crowd and I said, "Am I out?" And he said, "Yes." I didn't know. It's up to Stefan as to whether he wants to know.
Well, let's see what happens here as Stefan Belmont takes on Andy Bolton. It's game 5 of our session. It's the final in Group 1. Paul Nicholson's going to race his way down to the commentary box to describe all the action in the company of Matthew Edgar.
Thank you, Henry. And Paul Nicholson there alluding to the fact that Scott Taylor put that big ton-plus average in to beat Andy Bolton the final furlong last time he was here. He'd be more than happy to get through to the final once again, but Stefan Belmont has got the game and the capabilities to put that level of performance in, and at the right time. The 34-year-old from Switzerland is a tour winner on the Switzerland Pro Tour. He's also a Challenge Tour winner of 2022. But Andy Bolton has won one of those titles just this year, and he's been producing
First
big
leg,
stuff all
it's
season
Stefan
long.
to throw first. Game on.
Andy Bolton, 5 European Tour qualifications just to rubber stamp the quality that he has been playing throughout the year. But he's going to need to call upon that
60.
just to get himself a couple of legs here and join James Hurrell coming out of this group. James Hurrell already
99.
confirmed his place. He lost his opening game 4-2 to Andy Bolton. And then a big 4-1 victory over Stefan Belmont was enough. And he was quite chirper in his interview, wasn't he? He was quite happy with his situation. And he was one of those players who openly admitted he just didn't know the situation.
57.
I'm sure because of your experience, Matt, that you knew exactly what you needed to do in your second game when you played here a few weeks ago. But some people don't want to know. They don't want to overthink it. They don't want too much information.
94.
I think the only thing that's on Andy's mind right now is win this game, win the group, come back in semi-final 1.
100.
But he's been given this scenario that we talk about every Saturday. Play the first game, and because you won Group A, you're going to have to wait a while for your next game. He finished
59.
his first game tonight around an hour and 10 minutes ago. That's a little bit of a wait, but when you've played Group A this week, there will be periods where you will wait that period of time, so it won't be alien to him.
I'm going to open a can of worms and get the thoughts turning here. And ask you a question and answer it myself.
60.
Who thinks about the
And it required
scenarios
146.
and the permutations of a group? People that lose. You think Sebastian Bialekski's thinking about the permutations? No. He's won. He knows it. He's got the points on the board.
95.
Only when
Stefan
you
Yurko,
lose
128.
do you worry about legs or any other situation.
Just win all 4 games and that's it. Double 10.
108.
We've seen that shot
And he
so many
requires
times this
51.
week. A couple of people have hit it.
Just watching Andy Bolton in the background there. He kind of expected that to go. He was sort of grinning and nodding along like, here we go again.
19.
I'll tell you why.
Stefan Yurko,
Because
20.
his best finish of the week was that exact shot. And that's
Game
first
show on
blood
the
to
first
Belmont.
leg. Stefan Belmont.
There's been a few things mentioned this week about Andy Bolton. One of them was the stiffness and soreness
Second
in the
against
shoulder.
Andy to throw first.
And
Game on.
he was sort of just symbolising there a little bit, like maybe the shoulder was playing up a bit. We'll keep an eye on that, especially on the back of what you've just said about that big break between matches.
Utilising your time right is
100.
paramount on a night like tonight. Don't over-practice. Don't under-practice. Do what you need to do to feel sharp going into the games that you play.
140.
Little and often.
A bit like my diet.
60.
We have seen some good displays tonight. That 98.3 average for James Hurrell, beating Stefan by 4 legs to 1. That is performance of the night by a bit of a distance
60.
so far. Someone's got to accelerate in this game very soon. Otherwise, they're going to be caught
140.
in that high 70s, mid 80s range again. And here's another one to throw on the fire. This is the 4th time these guys have
58.
played this week. They had 3 games in Group A. Every single time they've played each other, Bolton has won. He needed to beat
58.
Belmont all 3 times to get the points to get through the group, because he was being hunted down by Bialeki. But if he gets a 4th win, he's the person to send Belmont packing.
100. And he record 143.
He's very animated at the back of the stage, Andy Bolton. He's warm up there. Just get very warm
97.
under the lights. I
Stefan
was
Yurko,
having a throw up there the other day
143.
in between sessions, and there was no one in here then, and it was warm. I had a couple of extra bodies in here.
As we see in the northeast, it's a bit George and Andrew up there. A bit warm.
43. And he required 46.
Double 16's been his go-to. Double 8 denies him. It could be Belmont 2-0.
There was no double trouble for Andy Bolton in his opening game. 4 from 7. But he is 0 from 4 in this one. And he might be 2-0 down.
That's the first time this week I've
And he
seen him
requires
talk
16.
in between darts. And I've seen every dart he's thrown this week. Bolton continues to miss.
No score.
You can see the
Stefan
frustration on his
required
face.
20.
He is not playing anywhere near what he's done this week
Game
so far.
on
And
the
that
second
double
leg.
10 bed
Stefan
is getting a
Belmont.
lot of attention for Belmont. If he replicates what he's done in this match so far and takes the next 2
Delegate
legs,
Stefan to throw first.
Andy
Game on.
is out.
That's 7 darts now thrown at double in this match for Andy Bolton. That's how many he needed to win
60.
his opening one against James Hurrell. There just isn't that urgency in the play. Certainly in the body language, in the face, we can see
100.
the determination of Andy Bolton was not transferring at the moment into the landing side of the darts. Stefan Belmont, is this more of the same? Because this was kind of the theme throughout the
60.
week. People just kept missing against him, and he punished.
Stefan's obviously got some sort of MODUS Super Series voodoo doll on the go. Or maybe he hasn't.
180.
Andy does not need to win this game. Stefan does. Andy gets 2 legs.
57.
Stefan does not qualify. It's that simple. It started ideally for Belmont, but he's got a very small margin of error. He's not going to get to a finish here, so Bolton's got some breathing space. More than anything else, what he needs
58.
is not so much a clean kill here, but when he gets to a double, he wants to hit it first time, just to make himself feel better.
41.
I would classify that visit as faffing.
Stuttering when he gets to the finish line. The key thing is, though, he will get there again, but can he cross it this time?
123.
Now Stefan's on a finish. We have seen a 170 this week from Tommy Lishman, who
91.
was really good at times. A real showman.
170.
I'm sure we'll see more of him in the future.
Just like that last dart, a really good dart there from Andy Bolton. Another one of those. And there could be big problems.
145.
Wow, that was
and he
really
required
close.
32.
That brings a smile from Stefan. How much is he smiling in 2 seconds' time?
16.
He might be smiling
Stefan,
all
you
the way to the
required
bank.
25.
If Andy wasn't in trouble before, he is now.
The tally grows. 10 missed darts at double in this match from Andy Bolton.
9.
This time, not punished.
And he requires 16.
He needs 2 legs. This one would be one with a break.
Game shot on the
A
third
very
leg.
strange
Andy Bolton.
20-dart break of throw. And if we cast our mind back to Thursday in the evening session, Belmont got 8
Andy to
points
throw
from 8,
first.
but every opponent that he faced had double-digit
Game
darts
on.
at a double. And none of them beat him. Andy is very fortunate to have that leg in the bank, because now he knows he just needs one more leg
60.
to eliminate the Swiss ace.
How important will the leg we've just seen, those 2 missed darts from Stefan Belmont, 3 if we
57.
include the dart of the ball, how important will that be come the end of the night? Because Andy Bolton may now go on and qualify and go on and win the night.
140.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you had a chance to beat Colin Osborne, you didn't, and then he wanted to win the night.
The Darryl Pilgrim beating in the final. Yep.
So much tension,
58.
so much time. But imagine the scenario if Stefan had got that leg. He could then still
61.
have that luxury of being one leg away, but could still lose a leg. Now he can't lose a leg. But imagine how uncomfortable this is for Andy.
92.
After that really good start in game 1, beating Hurrell. And by the time he comes back to the hockey, Hurrell's through. He's not. This
96.
format plays with your mind.
I love it. I do love a Saturday night here at the Super Series. Very ruthless sort of format.
100. And he required 144.
He could do with this to get it done. And watch him relax if he does get it done in 6 darts. Do you think
81.
he cares if he makes the semi-finals, winning the group, or in second place? Not one jot.
All pays the same. These are the shots
134,
I've
and he
mentioned
requires
all week.
63.
Numbers-wise, look simple. But dart-wise, he's only going to get one at winning the leg.
Double top.
Game shot on the
Bolton
fourth leg.
qualifies and he knows
Andy
it.
Bolton.
So Group 1 sees Hurrell through and Bolton through. And Belmont is
Fifth leg, it's
gone.
Stefan to throw first. Game on.
So that means we have
42.
one more place available. And that one will be in a straight shootout coming up in our last match. Scott Mitchell, Alexander
100.
Merkx.
How important is it now that Andy maintains that undefeated record?
I think for personal reasons, he'll want to. I don't think it makes much bearing in terms of how the night goes.
40.
But I think for personal pride, I think he'll want to win the group.
But does it already feel to Andy like he has won this match because he's done what he needed to do?
Oh, for sure.
84.
He went up there with a job to do. That job is done. It will feel like a win even if he is to lose the next two legs. But fair play to Andy Bolton, who couldn't hit a double to begin with.
140.
He's ended up throwing 13 darts at double in this match. But the last couple of darts have been important because they've been successful darts at doubles. And when they're adding up, you can start to
96.
doubt. Start to doubt if you can even hit a double. Like, start to question what's going wrong. Then start to change things or play with that emotion and try and be reactive to it rather than proactive.
100.
Andy Bolton didn't fall down that rabbit hole.
Stefan's campaign is going to stop at 25 matches for the week. So it will be Sebastian
54.
Bialeki who plays the most games here in week 7. He's guaranteed a 26th game. I think what Younghans and
59.
Belmont
And
have
he
done for
requires
Swiss starts this week is
167.
very important because they are definitely trending in the right direction. Speaking of trending,
126.
he gets
So
out
you
the
require
periscope.
120.
It wasn't close, he knows it. But he can see the lighter side of it now. Double top for Belly.
Game shot
He
on the
finds
fifth
himself a
leg.
ton plus out.
Stefan Belmont.
He might depart with a win. I just want to get your thoughts before the conclusion of this
Sixth
match,
leg, it's
Matt,
Andy to
as
throw
to
first.
the
Game
lineup
on.
for next week. Pick your headline. And the funny thing is, when you look at the list of players, you look at someone like Geert de Vos, who is someone who has won a major championship in the BDO, someone who has got big performances in his career, and he doesn't even headline.
No, and even when we look
60.
down to the sports book, Geert de Vos is the second biggest outsider of the week. He's available at 33 to 1.
That's ridiculous. for
140.
someone like Foxy. He's got a huge level. But when you've got Barton's in there, who is one of the best players in amateur darts, and obviously Luke Littler,
60.
you're definitely going to watch next week.
I was here last week, and Barry Van Peer was here. And I said Barry Van Peer, for me, is one of the top 3 players without a tour card.
80.
The other two I named was Luke Littler and Andy Bartons.
We try not to disappoint you here from our studio in Portsmouth. We try to get you the best players in the world. And next week, you've got a real treat.
100.
And you've got a treat in the next game as well. Scott Mitchell, Alexander Merkx is a shootout. And Alexander the Great is being thrown to the wolves. Because not only is he playing Mitchell, he's playing the audience as well.
125.
Because most of them are pro Farmy Army.
$93.
Get
And he
that one
required
quickly.
99.
That one was 51% wire and 49% sisal.
Darts need
59.
to be retrieved for the points to count. Not like in soft tip, for example, where as long as it hits the target, it counts.
Did count because he did retrieve
121,
it.
and it required 40.
Is Andy retrieving leg 6? He hands an
30.
opportunity to Belmont to
70
win
requires
and
67.
to draw level on points with his 2 fellow Group 1 players. Double top.
27.
That was his chance to
And
get
it
a win.
required 10.
He might not get another.
Well, there's only 2 from
Games
17.
on the 6th flag. Andy
I'm
Bolton.
going to say there's no guarantee, but Andy Bolton doesn't have any of it. First start, steps up, double 5, which can get tricky.
7th and final leg is Stefan to throw first.
With the opening dart.
Game on.
They've spent a lot of time together this week. You've got to think that the motivation for Belly is to not only leave with a win, but leave with a win over someone who he has not
78.
defeated this week. That will make him feel just a little bit better. But it just goes to show how close this
81.
group is. Because it's legs played, legs won, legs difference. That's what's separating these 3 players. A great week of darts, and it
40.
comes down to the finest of margins.
But that's what we judge you by on the Saturday, the finest of margins. A leg here, a leg there. Miss that shot, your opponent takes it. Bye-bye, thanks for coming.
100.
Quick question for you. Based on the fact that we've got players coming here next week that haven't been here before, is there anybody else that you can think of off the top of your head that hasn't been here that you want to see?
100.
Danny Baggish.
Good call.
140.
I'm going to go with Patrick Kovac. I watched him at the World Cup last week, and I think he's pretty useful. And I think we might see good things from him in the next couple of seasons.
45.
There's a few standout performances. The Italians putting together a few good performances as well at the World Cup.
122.
Yeah, I'd like to see a bit of Massimo Dante or Vito Trurua from Iceland. Just let's get some lip furniture here.
A facial hair week. We'll have to have Martin Adams on, obviously.
That means the commentary squad's going to have to grow some
140.
moustaches.
And he required 58.
Double top for Andy Bolton to win the group. And that's what he does.
Shot on the match.
It was a very
Andy Bolton.
difficult group for Andy, but unfortunately for Stefan Belmont, he falls at the hurdle of this level. He just didn't have it tonight. He did find a 120 finish, but unfortunately, he probably hit the wall at the wrong time, and it's Bolton through as the group winner, and he's followed by James Hurrell into the semi-finals. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we will finalise Group 2 to see whether it's Mitchell or Merkx going through with Sebastian Bialeki.
This is the MODUS Super Series. $182.
George Taylor, Garrett Tilling, and board 2, Craig Nixon, Robin Young.
Every Saturday, we open our doors for our weekly finals night.
For a unique and intimate darts experience.
Meet the Dart Stars and even the team off the telly
Here at our purpose-built venue in Portsmouth.
every single Saturday evening.
Tickets can be booked via this QR code.
Or at www.dartshop.tv for a very small booking fee.
Follow us at MSS Darts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
For all the latest ticketing news.
All you need to do, log on, book, turn up, and the action gets underway from 7:30 p.m.
So what are you waiting for?
Get your tickets to the darts.
We look forward to welcoming you to the MODUS Super Series very soon.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. Andy Bolton can be added to the list of semi-finalists here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. It is now a straight shootout in Game 6, who's going to seal the fourth and final spot in the semi-finals on 10 o'clock. It's Scott Mitchell against Alexander Merkx. Let battle commence in the company of Paul Nicholson and Matthew Edgar.
Thank you, Henry. It's very simple. Whoever wins this game will be in the semis. This is the way we like it on a Saturday night. Cutthroat, knockout. Lose, and you're gone
First leg, it's
situation.
Scott to throw first. Game on.
This could be edgy, because earlier tonight, Merkx started with a 4-1 loss to Bialeki, averaging only 77, hitting one darter double out of 6.
43.
Mitchell averaged better against Bialeki, but he hit one double out of 16. That can't happen again.
140.
I think this game, we may be talking about an X factor, and I don't mean Andy Bolton. I think the 100 pace of this game could become a problem. We're seeing yesterday Alexander Merkx produce his best performances and his best stuff when the pace of the game allowed him just to get on with it. I think Scott Mitchell's the sort of person that would be also aware of that, and he's not the most pacey player as it is. He likes to dictate the pace.
Not that I want to go down the farm joke route, but you get the feeling he might want to milk it.
100.
All right, Chris Murphy.
But you're absolutely right. If you can see a weakness in your
45.
opponent that you could explore, use it.
Case in point there. Alexander Merkx at the back of the stage before Scott Mitchell's even got into the exclusion zone. Never mind toeing the hockey.
They've got pretty
100.
similar best performances this week. Merkx, 98.92, his best individual performance in a game.
99.
97.58 for Mitchell.
Scott, you require
But they can play
158.
better than that. We've seen it before. A much easier out for Alexander. Doesn't have to get two trebles.
41. Alexander
He gets
require
it with the first one.
117.
He should be sitting on tops. And he's not on tops after missing the secondary
81.
treble.
Scott, you require
So
117.
it's over to Mitchell to see if he can do what Alexander couldn't.
Scott Mitchell qualified by winning Group C. He stood up on the balcony with Henry Deacon and said how nervous he was. I wonder how he's feeling right now. Controlling the pace.
Game shot in the first
What a
leg.
shot.
Scott
And
Mitchell.
he could do what Alexander couldn't. Not only did he hit that shot, but he looks over to the Farmy Army.
Second against Alexander to throw first.
And he gets a little bit of joy from that as well.
59.
Is that a sign of what's to come? It always feels good when you're sitting on the same shot. You watch them fail at it, and then you hit it. It makes you think that in this spot on planet Earth, on this Saturday
100.
night, that you are going to be better than that person.
68.
And we are talking about a person with Alexander that has made Saturday nights previously, not just in a weekly sense, but in the overall scheme of Champions Week as well.
41.
He's someone who is on an upward trend. Both of these guys were in Northern Ireland last week at the Six Nations, and it was Merkx who was lifting the trophy with the Netherlands. Scott with England. I'm sure he was very proud to represent his country again.
I can tell you for a fact he was. And I know that because he told me at least 22 times when we was here in the same group together last time.
Didn't he say to us earlier that when he went to the PDC
41.
with a tour card, he put his England trousers away? He didn't think he was ever going to use them again. Just so happened,
100.
did need them again. Everybody from Team Dorset is in the back right of the crowd as you can look at it from the dartboard.
That is one thing
95.
that's never been lost with the county setups and the systems. They will support their own to the very end. There is a very sort of
43.
team environment when you get to that sort of level.
And we were saying earlier in the week that darts is a bit of a lonely sport. Very much is during the week here, from Monday to Friday. But if you can bring an entourage on Saturday night, it's a little less lonely.
140. Alexander Rock 131.
Case of this game is being conducted by Mitchell.
91.
Alexander's got to be okay with it.
84.
He can't change it. He has to adapt or he will perish.
It's not about what happens to you, it's how you react to it. And he would have known that Mitchell would be looking to control the pace.
53.
Bullseye there would have been
Alexander
controlling the match.
40.
Merkx to get himself level and back in this one.
20.
That can't happen.
Scott, you're
Because
required.
this game
31.
is being played with scoring averages that show you that this game is tense. When you get chances, you got to take them. And
Game
Mitchell
show the
takes his
second leg.
to double the lead. He
Scott
doesn't
Mitchell.
care that he's not playing well. He just wants to get through to have a chance to play well a little bit later on. 2-0 to
So they
Scotty
get
Dog.
Scott to throw first.
Now, I'm not an expert of posers, but I think that one was underpants. They've all got different names, haven't they, for the posers?
Game on.
I think the hand on hips is underpants.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you learn new things every day. Didn't expect to learn that from you, though, Matt.
You're saying I'm not a fashionable guy?
I didn't say that. I said I didn't know you were a connoisseur of underpants posing.
60.
And I didn't know that Scott Mitchell was a fan of it either. You learn multiple things. Well, if you are tuning in to a Saturday night for the first time,
100.
you might wonder who's already qualified on a Saturday night for Champions Week at the end of July. Week 1, Danny Lowby of the United States took out Wesley Harms, the very dangerous Dutchman. Reese Robinson of Humberside beat local boy Chaz Barstow
100.
from Winchester in the Week 2 final. We've also seen WDF World Champion Neil Duff qualify, as well as Colin Osborne, the Wizard
100.
from Middlesbrough. Simply Steve West beat Shane McGurk in Week 5. And then this past week, we saw Bionic Berry Van Peer beat Scott Taylor in the final 7 days ago. 4 countries through so far
60.
to Champions Week. We already have English. We already have Dutch.
100.
We don't have anybody from Poland. It's Bialeki that sits alone with a possibility of making it 5 countries into Champions Week.
Holland is the most represented nation here at the Super Series outside of England.
No shock in that, because
100.
it's so big there and they have so much talent. One thing we already know is that Andy Bolton
84.
will play in the first semi-final. By winning both of his Group 1 games, he has put James Hurrell into semi-final 2. That means your
100.
second semi-final is
Alexander
going to be Sebastian
117.
Bialeki against Hurrell. Their first meeting of this week. And Mitchell could
81.
be very close.
Scotty require 81.
For getting through this group if he clicks this 81. Bullseye.
49.
You're going to miss it. That's a good leave.
Alexander require 36.
But nothing's looked easy on the outer ring so far to Alexander Merkx today. Not just in this game, as the missed
Game
doubles
shot
continue
of
to
third
add
leg.
up, but that is a
Alexander
big switch
Merkx.
across the board. And a crucial successful hit there for Alexander Merkx to
Fourth leg,
break
it's Alexander to throw
Scott Mitchell
first.
throw. It was starting
Game
to add up. He only hit 1 in his opening game out of his 6 attempts. That is where he is in this one. 1 from 6.
100.
He misses that double 9. Do you see a way back?
No. I think that would have been job done. Well, job done as long as Scott Mitchell could hold it together, because I will go back once again to that interview
55.
on Friday with Henry up on the balcony when Mitchell was saying how nervous he was going into that last game. And
40.
yes, he's massively experienced. He's played on 4 different World Championship stages. I don't know if that's ever been done by any other player.
Oh, that's a thinker.
133.
Taylor's played at Lakeside. Tavern. Ali Pali. Wow, that's a really good question.
96.
It's one for the statisticians. But I think Scott Mitchell's the only player who's played on the 4, because he would have played the 0-2 with the BDO.
So it has to be somebody who played there.
Played this year for the first time at the Circus Tavern in the World Seniors Championships. Played at the Alexandra Palace and he won Lakeside.
97.
I think you've just given me a new project for the next time I come here. I'm going to have that one bolted down. Not sure from the early days whether the likes of John Lowe and those guys have played in 4. because they played
81.
at Jollies, didn't they? People who played at the very first one. That was in Nottingham, wasn't it? Then it went to Jollies.
140.
Lakeside. So there's a lot of people who played 3. John Lowe never played at Ali Pali.
137.
Most importantly now, Merkx is on the cusp of drawing level.
97. Alexander required 28.
There you
Game
go,
shot on the
2-2.
fourth
This
leg.
game's changed.
Alexander
We've now
Merkx.
got best of 3 to see who plays Andy Bolton in semi-final 1. It's a stay-on
Fifth leg, it's Scott to throw
situation.
first.
What do we say in darts when you play down the pub? Winner stays on. That's exactly what it is.
83.
If you do know the answer to our... Well, it's not a tungsten teaser, it's just a thinking out loud process.
52.
Get in touch at MSS Darts, Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. See if you can help us out.
$100. $58.
I think there's a lot of tense people out there. You know, you look at Tommy Morrison, one of those seats out there. He has got a very defensive body language going on. He really wants Scott to win tonight. But in order to have the chance to win, you've got to get through your group first.
60.
There he is, biting the nails. And right behind him there, Mark Porter. The Dorset captain in what can only be described as a very loud shirt. Had the chance to meet him tonight. What a lovely chap.
He's smiling still now, just in case the camera comes back.
I did warn him. I said, when you wear a shirt like that, the camera's going to find you. But then again, the focus should be on the man in pink. It's an 81 average game.
43.
Which in old money is a 27 average game.
Got 158.
Which at this level would say is tense. And sort of below their par, but under these sort of circumstances, it's what you'd expect.
58.
Is this the kind of game where you're screaming for just one chance to get it done?
140.
And the thing is to be patient
Scott,
in this
you
and not
require
just try
100.
and feel like you want it done, because that's where frustration kicks in, when you're just trying to get the job done at the earliest possibility.
Great dart. Great shot.
On the fifth leg.
He's done it again on that 100 checkout. When he played Hurrell on Thursday, Hurrell was going absolutely crazy with a huge average.
To throw first.
And Scotty Dog denied him a shot with that 60 tops combo a couple of days ago. And that now has given him 2 pokes at getting through to the final 4 here in week 7.
That's the patience. Not overreacting. Not getting involved with the big cheers from the farmy army.
40.
Just fully in control of his emotions in that moment. Alexander Merkx is hitting back.
174.
Well timed. Can you imagine the tension in here if it's a one-leg shootout for the semis? And it's to more than double your money.
140.
Well. From the final 6 to the final 4, it's an additional £750.
100.
But it's the opportunity to then double it again and then double it again that is more lucrative. And then if you want to go a little bit further, it's the opportunity to then
59. Exactly require 87.
Times it by 4. Just the layup.
55.
And he'll take that. A nice 230-point lead. He can breathe, if only for a few seconds.
Real sensible play there as well from Merkx, showing that experience and showing the fact that he's not getting carried away or panicking and racing down for that bullseye, which is what I said about not trying to rush and get it done at the earliest opportunity.
134.
Set it up.
Alexander requires 32.
3 darts at the double of choice, which is the double 16.
Game show on the 6th.
He hasn't given him a shot at 128. It's a one-leg shootout. Here we go then. Mitchell's got the darts.
7th and final leg. It's Scott to throw first.
Against the winner of Group B. The winner of Group A awaits.
You mentioned earlier that down your local you'd say it's winner stays on. Down your local park, you'd call this next goal wins.
Golden goal darts, is that what you're calling it?
Yeah, I think that summarises a Saturday night the Super Series quite well, doesn't it?
It's not a bad way of putting it, actually. You do tend to come up with the right vernacular every now and again, Matt. Just trying to cut the tension a little bit.
100.
What Mitchell is doing right now is really good. Guaranteeing 1 big treble per visit already.
59.
Still has the darts. Has a tiny cushion. And there are people in here who can't move because they're so nervous at what's going to happen next. This is where that mental strength comes into it.
100.
And this is where I think Merkx has made a mistake. That last start going for the 19s, putting a 2 on the end, means even a 180 here will not leave him a finish. Had he have used the 17s, he would now be on 164.
But still, when Mitchell was at the table, he'll have thought, the one thing I don't want to hear is Owen Binks saying maximum.
78.
What a dart. One big treble every visit. And Merkx can't
44.
back up the max.
Scott, you require 142.
By the skin of his teeth, it's still advantage Mitchell. Merkx will have a chance to get through. One more treble required.
97. Alexander
His
require
best finish this week,
118.
121. This is easier than that. But he's not going to get a shot. Mitchell, 45
58.
away from bringing
Scott, you require
the
45.
Farmy Army to their feet. He chooses double 16. Good choice.
Shot on the mark.
He makes the final
Scott
four.
Mitchell.
And in the shootout, Alexander Merkx falls just short. It was 7 legs of pure tension, and it's not going to be another weekly title for Alexander. But the averages don't mean much. It's all about the fact that Scotty Dog is now going to play Andy Bolton in the first semi-final. And that means that your semi-finalists are Bolton, Mitchell, Bialeki, and Hurrell. And the semis will start not far from now.
Hello everyone and welcome to Saturday night here at the MODUS Super Series, where we are down to the semi-final stages here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. So only 4 players remain in the race for a place in the semi-finals, and this is what's happened so far. To James Hurrell by 4 legs to 2. James Hurrell then had to back up with a victory against Stefan Belmont. He did so with the acquired legs difference to get himself into the semi-finals. Bolton made it 2 wins from 2 by getting the better of Stefan Belmont in a last leg decider. As far as Group 2 is concerned, well, it was all about Sebastian Bialeki. 2 4-1 victories of him sees himself into the semi-finals, whilst just before we came on air in the last couple of minutes, Scott Mitchell has won a tense last leg decider against Alexander Merkx to seal his place into the final 4. Paul Nicholson, the asset, has been watching all of the action in the commentary box. I think it was a case of Ambrieve after that last game, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a lot of tension in here. A lot of people supporting Scott Mitchell, and they just didn't do anything else but bite their nails. I think the way that Mitchell plotted his way through that 7th leg, though, finding a big treble every time on approach to a shot, and the fact that Merkx did put him under pressure with a maximum in that last leg, it just goes to show that having the darts and having experience can take you a long way. Mitchell in the final 4, but he had to work hard for it.
Well, let's show you the best of the action then from so far this evening. We begin with game 1. It was Andy Bolton up against James Hurrell. Hurrell got out the traps absolutely flying. A 106 checkout to break the throw of the X Factor, who himself was left on 84 to take the opener. This was a break for Hurrell, but really, as far as this game was concerned, it was as good as it got for the Hillbilly, because it'd be Andy Bolton who would get over the line in this one by 4 legs to 2, doing so with a nice, clean 74 kill, 2 darts in hand. That was game 1 of the night. As for our second encounter, it saw the beginning of Group 2, and it saw Alexander this is James Hurrell up against Stefan Belmont. This was the second game in Group 1. This 102 finish secured Hurrell's place into the semi-finals here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth, courtesy of the legs difference category. So that was how James Hurrell made his way through. A little bit dramatic, but in the end, James Hurrell finds ways here, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think even though he lost the first game to Andy Bolton, I think you've got to look at the performance level of Hurrell in game 3. It was high. It was high 90s. The finishing was good, and he looked pumped up. And I just get the feeling that he's ready to go out there and win tonight. I think the odds were very generous for him at the start of the night, but now that he's got that performance in the bank, he's going to take some stopping.
Well, Sebastian Bialeki made his way through Group 2. He got the better of Scott Mitchell by 4 legs to 1. Well, Bialeki bolt when he just came out of the traps, didn't he? This is a 16 checkout to put him 2-1 up in that particular encounter, and then he would go on and get the job done against Scotty Dog. Well, this is Stefan Belmont up against Andy Bolton. Belmont 2-0 up in this one. He had to win 4-1. Bolton comes back for this 32 to half the arrears, half the deficit. And then this was to make it 2-2. Paul, just talk about Andy Bolton's night.
Up and down. I think he was in control in his first game, but that second encounter for him was anything but comfortable. The way he was able to just get through that encounter, it was very similar to what we saw in game 6 with Mitchell. He was just able to use his experience to get through a very sticky encounter. I know that Stefan's going to be very disappointed, but one thing we know about Mitchell is that when he played against Merkx, he got the same kind of start that that Hurrell got in his second game, but after that, it really did get tense.
There certainly was tension in the room. So this was the first leg for Scott Mitchell. This one would go all the way down to the wire. Tension reigning everywhere. Alexander Merkx then pinning this to make it 3 apiece. As you see, slight shuffle across there, finds a 8-8. There we go, last leg decider. And you could just sense in this room the tension that was to come.
And it was really interesting that he chose to go for double 16, because in his heyday, he has been a player that has used double top more than most. But the fact that he chose and he got it, means that he is strong in mind. I just bumped into Scott on the way up to the balcony, and he said, what on earth did I do wrong in that first game to play so poorly? But the ability to just get through that group stage, it might serve you well. He's going to have to up his level, but you'd rather just get through than not just get through.
He's into the semi-finals, and this is how the tables rounded up in the end. As you can see, Andy Bolton, James Hurrell making it through Group 1, Sebastian Bialeki and Scott Mitchell through Group 2, Stefan Belmont and Alexander Merkx depart at this particular juncture. So that sets in stone our semi-final lineup for the evening then, and we've got two real fantastic semi-finals to look forward to. As for Scott Mitchell, he's got that horrible shift of he's played the last game of the group stage, he's had to go through all that drama, all of that tension, and now he has to go back out there again in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, in a funny sort of way, playing Andy is probably the right game for him because he's had a bit of a tumultuous night as well. So playing each other, I wouldn't be surprised if we get 7 legs again. This is an old school game. You've got 2 players over the age of 50, but don't underestimate what they can still do. We've got the winner of Group A against the winner of Group C. It's going to be brilliant.
It's going to be one of those games decided by fine margins. Well, this is how it's going to break down for the rest of the night. We know our first semi-final, Bolton up against Mitchell. That's going to be followed by Sebastian Bialeki up against James Hurrell. Now, we know Bialeki is one of those players that's cool, calm, collected, but James Hurrell has won so much in the last 12 months or so. He knows what this situation's all about.
Oh, yeah. He loves a knockout situation as well. He will dig this scenario now, especially because he's had the best performance of the group stage. And now we expect from James, if he doesn't deliver, he will be the first person to castigate himself and say, I didn't play well enough. But Bialecki's more of a silent assassin, isn't he? We haven't got a clue what he's thinking, but he'll be very, very happy that he hasn't had to work that hard to get through to this stage. Won 8 legs, only lost 2.
Neither of these players have won a week at the Super Series, but you feel that the pedigree and calibre that they've got, they feel like this has got to be something they've got to tick off the bucket list.
At this stage of their careers and at the stage of this tournament as well, we are getting to the point where players are saying, have you won a week here yet? None of them have. It's about time somebody did, and somebody's about to get, well, what I like to say, they're about to get their picture on the wall. So let's find out who it is over the next 3 matches.
Yeah, we're most certainly looking forward to this. Well, as I say, our first semi-final about to get underway very shortly. Andy Bolton's actually had that stint where he's had that little bit of a break. In your situation, and obviously you've been in situations where you've played in big tournaments where you've had the 2 semi-finals and final in one night. Is there a preference to be hot on the stage, or do you prefer that cool-down time to then come back on?
It's easy for me to answer this question because the one scenario I had for that, I played in the second semi-final and the final was about 20 minutes later, so I was still very hot going into that final. But in a funny sort of way of thinking about it now, I wish I'd had the other scenario, even though I won, because sometimes it's nice to sit down, take a breath, take stock, and figure out how you're going to proceed. But sometimes when you're hot, what you want to do is just keep going.
What do you think the deciding factor in this particular game, Andy Bolton, Scott Mitchell, our first semi-final is going to be? Because they just both know, don't they, what these situations are about. They probably both know each other inside out. It's going to be one of those games. There's not going to be much to give.
No, I don't think so at all. If you think about Scott Mitchell's qualifying game against Alexander, having the darts was crucial. He doesn't have the darts in this game. He finished second in his group, so Andy having them, it could be massive.
Well, so we're about to get underway with our first semi-final. Little prediction for this?
I'm going to go for Bolton, but only just.
Well, we are really looking forward to this one. Andy Bolton up against Scott Mitchell is our first semi-final. Paul Nicholson is going to watch this down in the commentary box, where he's going to be partnered for the rest of the evening with primetime Matthew Edgar. Hello, Matt.
Evening, Henry. Evening, everyone. Joining us for the semi-final and the conclusion of Week 7 here at the MODUS Super Series. We kick things off with 2 serial winners, but as Paul Nicholson has just informed us, none of the 4 players left in this week's event have won a weekly title here. They are serial winners, though, in other locations. Andy Bolton being one of those serial winners this year, highlighted with a Challenge Tour success earlier in the year. He's been getting plenty of Pro Tour call-ups, going up against a man who's just recently dropped off the PDC Pro Tour in Scott Mitchell. and he dropped off at that and moved over to the seniors, played in the Seniors World Championship. He's been playing on the Challenge Tour, been getting more darts than ever, the 53-year-old. 2 serial winners that I expect are going to be playing this game at quite a steady pace. Scott Mitchell, I said to at the very, very start of proceedings tonight, will dictate the pace of all the games. Not this one. Andy Bolton will not let Scott Mitchell have things his own way. Andy Bolton is one of those players that don't rely on rhythm and pace of a match. He can play
First
this
leg,
at
it's
quite a
Andy
subdued
to
pace
throw
as well.
first. Game on.
I don't think our referee, Owen Binks, is going to need his quick maths in this one.
Just done a little calculation as to what the averages are for the night for these two players, and they can be separated by 0.3 of a point.
58.
Andy has won 8 legs tonight. Scott has won 5. Is that a telling factor? Or can they just get rid of everything they've done tonight and move on to the next step?
121.
But average-wise, they can barely be split in the legs that they've played.
They've navigated themselves through their big groups. They've navigated themselves through their mini groups tonight.
140.
When you get to this point, I'm a firm believer that actually all the stats and numbers that we've been writing down throughout the week, we screw them up, chuck them in the bin. Because essentially, this now comes from those sort of stats to moments. Who's got the bottom? That's all this is going to come down to. Who can convert when the opportunity presents itself? Because with 2 evenly matched players like this, they're both going to have an opportunity at some point to take control of this fixture.
I agree with you. And before we throw the stats in the bin, I can tell you that Andy Bolton is 30% in his doubles tonight. Mitchell, 21%. That can't continue. But that's pretty much to do with 1 hit from 16 when he played Bialeki. This is knockout darts. And it's the time of the week that we all crave. We play 101 matches in qualifying for this stage. And now it's straight knockout
45.
to see who makes the final.
Big slip from Andy Bolton. Losing the line at the worst possible time has invited Scott Mitchell here to have 6 darts at the 220. This is where a big 140 would help. He needs a ton.
100.
Gets it with the last dart. Gives him a break opportunity. Straight on the Shangas.
The Shangas? Never heard that one before. I like that. That sounds very 2023.
59. Scott, you require 120.
I'll let you call the Shangas then.
Sounds like a Beer City Roller song. Shangalangalangas. Not going to hit it, and Bolton gets the
60. And you require 100.
little cousin of 120 in getting 100. 60 in tops, which is what Mitchell's already done tonight. And neither of them can click
60.
their shot.
Scott, you require 60.
Mitchell comes back for an opening break, which would make having the advantage of throw at the start of the contest completely irrelevant for now.
50.
Mitchell misses.
You get the feeling that Scott Mitchell is living every single dart. The sort of reactions. It's a reaction of tension. That is quite some way off.
Game
well, that is a great recovery there for Andy Bolton. He chased it all the way round. His arms are going all the way round as well. He has struggled with a bit of stiffness in the shoulder at the early part of the week. Was having a couple of days off, but he did choose to practice yesterday. We saw on his social media accounts he had a couple of hours in one of the local venues around Portsmouth, trying to keep the action ticking over.
If he wants to feel a bit more limber, he wants to spend a bit of time on his Alan Norris aerobics video.
60.
If you watch players at the back of the stage, nobody limbers up more than Alan Norris. And Alan's a good pal of Andy's. Yeah, I've got to do these little bits and bobs just to make yourself comfortable before throwing. I used to circle my right shoulder a lot.
41.
Had a lot of problems in that department. Show me a dart player that hasn't had aches and pains through their career. And you'll be showing me a lot of players.
140.
And some people might not understand it because of the lack of over-physical nature, but actually what we're doing is with darts, we're trying to stand as still and static as possible, but provide an explosive movement to project an object through the air. Any other sport where there's a throw involved, you would normally have a rotation of the hips or a turn of the body to assist the throwing technique. We're doing that all with a snap that's just going to go on ligaments, tendons and muscles.
If you think about a javelin throw, there's a lot of explosive movement there, but post-throw, there's a big thrust of the throwing arm through,
and
then
164.
The same side with the hip, the foot. Dart players don't do that.
100.
It's a very unique skill set. I bet Scott Mitchell's probably the best combine harvester driver in darts. Not just a world champion back in 2015, but someone
140.
who supports the family business.
And it requires 64.
Supports his county darts as well and has done for many years. And he needs tops.
Game show on the
Mitchell's
second
in trouble
leg. Andy
already.
Bolton.
And Bolton came close in the previous series. He made the final, but was swept aside
Andy to throw first.
by a display from Scott Taylor that was just irresistible. He's praying that he gets to the final tonight and it doesn't happen again. In fact, it was Taylor that lost out 7 days ago to Bionic Barry Van Peer. How's Mitchell feeling right now? Because he's had to work very hard. Like you said, Matt, he's thinking every dart. It's not coming naturally tonight. Can he still fight his way through the next game or even 2 games?
100.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. You said he's working very hard. That's how it feels. Everything is hard work. Everything is effort right now for Scott Mitchell. Nothing's just coming easy to him. Nothing's flowing. He's relying on graft.
100.
Well, these two have played each other outside of the Super Series 7 times at least that we have on record. They've played in the World Masters twice in 2 years, back in 2012 and 2013.
99.
It's 1-1 in Masters format, and both games were 3-1. In Players' Championships, which are best of 11 legs, Andy Bolton's won them all.
60.
In fact, the only other win for Mitchell against Bolton was in a qualifier for the European Darts Match Play this year.
84.
Still, this game, all is about Andy Bolton. He's down to a finish first again. And Scott Mitchell is just chasing in every leg.
60. And it
He's
requires
relying on mistakes of Andy
180.
Bolton, and they're not coming. Andy Bolton's doing his job. He's finding that treble every throw.
Which is what Mitchell was doing in the last leg of his second qualifying match. And Andy's not going to be too perturbed with the pace of this
94.
game. He's played Mitchell before and won. He knows exactly what to expect.
He is one of the players that I think the pace of this game wouldn't bother. We know Andy Bolton likes to bring the pace down himself at times.
That's true. He's somebody who can play a quicker brand of the game.
121.
More than
and it requires
okay with this.
24.
And when I say this, I mean the scoreline as well.
Andy Bolton.
He's keeping the Farmy Army completely quiet.
Fourth leg, it's Scott
Might
to
be
throw
about
first.
to shut the barn door. It's a bit like that old dart saying, isn't it? You have a bad game.
24.
You don't hit much. You walk away and you said, I couldn't hit a barn door. Is that something that has been said in your neck of the woods?
136.
No, we have a slightly different expression. It involves a banjo.
I think the Farmy Army are starting to come to terms with maybe leaving before the final.
140.
Or sticking around to see who else is going to lift the trophy, and it might not be Mitchell. Just because you win the first
61.
group of the week and have those 2 days off and show strength in the first 3 days doesn't guarantee success. In the very first series here, at the end of 2022, of the 12 players
60.
that made the first Super Series Champions Week, only one Group A winner made Champions Week. That was Graham Hall. He didn't win
100.
that week. It was Conan Whitehead.
I'm going to rewind your mind back about 10 minutes now. He stood on the balcony with Henry Deacon and he says, is this a good position for Scott Mitchell to have just won and come straight back on? I was thinking yes.
39.
But are we seeing evidence here that actually for Scott Mitchell, personally, the answer might have been no?
I guess we'd have to ask him. But if you'd have said to Andy that 3-0
96.
and sitting on a shot of 108 for a 4-0 win, his eyes would have lit up. One last flourish, potentially, just to ask the question. But things have got to be better, and they've got to be better now.
100.
He'll
And
be
he
getting that
requires
sinking feeling
108.
that this game could be over in seconds, not minutes. Bolton is back in the
shot
final,
on the match.
and he hasn't lost a leg
Andy
in the
Bolton.
semis. Maybe Scott Mitchell was just put through the ringer too much in qualifying, and ultimately it's Scotland's Andy Bolton that will contest the Week 7 final. He was steady throughout. The average quite close to what he was doing all week long, but the doubles were ruthless at 4 hits from 6. And as you can see, Scott Mitchell only got 2 shots at a double the whole game, and that will never get it done. When we come back after the break, it will be Sebastian Bialeki, who is undefeated tonight, taking on James Hurrell for a spot in the final.
Every Saturday, we open our doors for our weekly finals night.
For a unique and intimate darts experience.
Meet the Dart Stars and even the team off the telly
Here at our purpose-built venue in Portsmouth.
every single Saturday evening.
Tickets can be booked via this QR code.
Or at www.dartshop.tv for a very small booking fee.
Follow us at MSS Darts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and TikTok.
For all the latest ticketing news.
All you need to do, log on, book, turn up, and the action gets underway from 7:30 p.m.
So what are you waiting for?
Get your tickets to the darts.
We look forward to welcoming you to the MODUS Super Series very soon.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Andy Bolton has made his way back to the final here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. He's got the better of Scott Mitchell in the first of our semi-finals, watched in the commentary box by Matthew Edgar, and well, that was just so typically Andy Bolton.
I thought he played really well. He did everything right. He was completely in control of that game. At no point did I think Scott Mitchell was going to really get an opportunity in it. He bossed every single leg, dominated proceedings, and Scott Mitchell's gutted. I've just walked up here to chat to you on the balcony, and I walked past Scott Mitchell, and he's sort of got his back to the room at the moment, just really slowly packing his bag. This meant a lot to him. As we saw yesterday when he came up here and spoke to himself, the relief of just getting through the group, and then again getting through the group tonight. He'll probably be happy when he looks back at it, because he's probably overcome hurdles that he was battling with himself. And I think that's the hardest battle to win sometimes, that one with yourself. But he certainly wanted to win the one with Andy Bolton, and he is absolutely gutted right now.
Most certainly that. So our second semi-final is going to come up very shortly. It sees Sebastian Bialeki in action up against James Hurrell. There's an interesting dynamic, I think, towards this second semi-final, because you've got Sebastian Bialeki, who'll go about his, both play at a similar pace, but Sebastian will go about his business, whereas James is not afraid to, at the right moments, let a little bit of emotion out.
I think we'll see that as well. We saw it from Andy Bolton in the last game. I think we'll see it from James Hurrell, definitely in this one, because James Hurrell is one of those players that will live the moments, and there will be moments present themselves in this game. This is a game that no one's going to boss. This is going to be a tight one. This is going to be a high standard, and this one's probably going to come down to either a moment of brilliance, a tumblers checkout, or someone making a mistake, missing 3 darts at a double. But when that happens, if James Hurrell jumps on and takes that opportunity, expect a reaction.
And as for James Hurrell, he's a man who is so versed, isn't he, in winning these types of events, winning these types of tournaments over this kind of format.
He hasn't won one here, though. And he's going to want to put that right, because he's been in every series so far, and he's yet to win one of these weekly titles. He is the sort of player that wouldn't surprise me come Champions Week if he was to win one of those. But the first thing he's got to do is get himself there, and he's close now, just a couple of games away.
As for Sebastian Bialeki, there's just been something about him this week. There's no waver, there's no quiver, there's no nothing about him.
I don't even think we pinpoint this week. That's just Sebastian Bialeki. He's so experienced for such a young man, and he's achieved so much. The quarterfinal in the UK Open being the highlight so far, and I say so far because I expect that he's going to go on even further than that in his career. He's got many years ahead of him, even though we're talking about the things he's done so far.
Well, I made Nico predict the first semi-final. I'm going to make you predict the second. Who do you think is going to take on Andy in the finale?
Well, I think that's a very harsh question to ask me, because this is going to be a tough one. Although I think if I had to, I'm going to slightly edge towards James Hurrell.
So our second semi-final promises to excite. It is the Pole, Sebastian Bialeki, up against the Englishman, the England captain, no less, in James Hurrell. Right, before we get into our second semi-final, it's time to see what you at home voted. Check out the week. Our first contender is Owen Bates. Well, he was the big finisher of the week. This 1-5-7 was to rescue things against Sebastian Bialeki on Thursday. Next up is Andy Bolton, this 1-2-8 in his Group A campaign. This helped him along his way towards glory on Wednesday. As for Josh Richardson, he nailed the 1-2-7 in game against Tommy Lishman. Next up is another contender for Owen Bates. This was the 1-4-8 again against Bialeki. And last, and by no means least, is the Lishman 170 Tommy Lishman? Yeah, man. So it is second semi-final time here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. It sees James Hurrell pitted up against Sebastian Bialeki, and watching this one in the commentary box is Paul Nicholson and Matthew Edgar.
We're still here, Henry, and we are waiting with bated breath to see what happens next. Bolton, the winner of Group A in the final, will now take on the winner of this game, a player that did not win a group this week. Just proving that you don't have to win a qualifying group to get glory at the end. You just have to be here to have the chance.
First leg, it's Sebastian to throw first. Game on!
And I don't mean to make James Hurrell feel old, but his opponent is half his age. Welcome to modern day darts.
140.
When someone under the age of 40 is double the age of an opponent. I actually ran into Team Hurrell at around 5 to 10 tonight.
60.
And somebody said to me, what do you think of James's shirt tonight? Because it is the third different colour of the week. And I said, I think this is the best of the three.
100.
I'm not sure they took too kindly to me calling his shirt design the world's worst word search.
$60.
Did just overhear a conversation on my way down here. Scott Mitchell and Andy Bolton having a debrief of their game. Scott Mitchell's absolutely distraught, but he feels he lost that in the early part of that match. And a couple of darts in the opening leg. He reckons it could have been a different game had he have taken that. Which I guess just goes to show how those early misses affected him for the rest of the game.
140. Sebastian,
Let's
121.
How much Sebastian can hammer home the advantage of throw, because winning his group here tonight has given him a great advantage. He will throw in the odd-numbered legs. And the most important of those odd-numbered legs are usually leg 1 and leg 7.
$60.
Let's see if Bialeki
Sebastian, you
can get the hot
require
start
40.
on tops.
Game's on the first leg.
That's a
Sebastian
great start.
Bialeki.
And you said something really appropriate, Matt, that when it comes to these semi-finals, what they've done previously throughout the week,
So
it
here's
means
James to throw
nothing.
first. Game on.
And in a funny sort of way, what they've done tonight already means very little. But just for a few giggles and for all the statos out there, Bialeki for the night, averaging 84.52, winning 8 legs and 36% on doubles with a couple of maximums.
59.
It can't be denied that James Hurrell has played better than Bialeki statistically. 94.63 for the night. One more maximum than Sebastian. He's got 3.
140.
But his doubles aren't quite as good, but still satisfactory at 33%. 6 hits from 18.
140.
Does that give us any indication of what we're about to get in this match?
None at all. I genuinely don't believe what we've seen so far has any impact on what we see going forward. If anything, maybe what we saw in the first semi-final might be the most appropriate thing we've got to go on, which is what I've just heard in that debrief. Scott Mitchell believing he lost it in the early part and almost feeling like he couldn't chase his opponent.
Bad dart from James. Keeps Bialeki in the leg. Oh, he's way behind.
45.
But that's a bad visit. Bialeki gets 2 big trebles here. Or even 3. He might even be favourite.
85.
That doesn't help.
James, you require 83.
Big first dart. It eliminates the possibility of having to go for the bullseye. Puts him straight onto the doubles.
Game show on the second leg.
Just like
James
his opponent, Bialeki. Hurrell takes it out with the first dart.
If you're Andy Bolton sitting in the practice room right now, roughly about 5 yards from me, are you thinking, I want to play James Hurrell?
100.
And you might think, I'm going a bit loopy. Thinking, why would you want to play the England captain instead of the 19-year-old from Poland?
105.
If you weren't tuning in earlier in the week, there's only one person who's beaten Andy Bolton this week. And his name is Sebastian Bialeki, and he's beaten him twice.
70.
Look back at that table that we showed you at the top of the show. 26 points for Bolton, which means that he lost 2 matches in that Group A campaign. He lost them both to Sebastian. He has not lost tonight. Would he rather play Hurrell? Or does he want revenge against Bialeki?
To be fair, I think that's like you sitting there now with a dart in your hand and saying, Matt, I'm going to stab this dart in your leg. Do you want it in the left or the right? I'm still going to get a dart in the leg. There's no getting around what he's going to get here. Is a really hard game.
That's a very, very good point. But look at it slightly differently from the way I've just mentioned. Andy Bolton has beaten everybody he's played this week
80.
at least once. And now he just needs to beat somebody once more to be at the top of the tree in week 7.
And it can lead to a little bit of bitterness as well the other way round. I can speak of this as a voice of experience. As I played in a group which I beat Graham Usher in, and then I got to Saturday, beat Graham Usher in Saturday, and then in the final game I played him again. He won that one, and I left so bitter.
60.
Because the only time he got that win was in the big one at the end of the week.
Should switch, really.
58.
Sensible.
Change of require 161.
And now that the Farmy Army are quiet, they have switched allegiances to Scott's England captain.
65 scored, 96 left.
You may have heard from Owen Binks, our referee, this evening. He can inform the player of what they've hit and what
70.
they have remaining.
Special require 90.
One thing he's not allowed to do is to tell the player how to get it. All of these players know exactly how to get the shots they want.
85.
There's a chance for 2-1 up.
James, you require 91.
Bolt could be pegged back.
This is the opportunity I was talking about with Henry, where I said will present itself, and it will be down to him to take it. He's going the more safer, the old school route that gives him 1 dart at the ball.
66. Sebastian, you require 5.
I think he fancied that. He probably liked the lie.
Desmond.
Game shot on the third leg.
To Bolt.
Sebastian Bialeki.
Things are getting very interesting.
Well, James to throw first.
Less than half a point between them in the averages in this match. It's a very fair contest, and it is going with the throw. They're identical percentage-wise on doubles as well. Bialecki's had twice as many shots at a double. He's had 4 and hit 2. Hurrell's had 2 and hit 1. We knew that tonight was going to be close. It has proven to be the case, maybe with the exception of that first semi-final.
60.
We have to applaud Bolton with his excellent doubling. Maybe that's what you need when it comes to the climax in a weekly campaign like this.
85.
And I don't think these sort of situations, when we've got players like the ones we've got left now who are so evenly matched, that, yes, it's nice to hit the big 140s and the 180s. I think the priority here is to just make sure you're getting a treble each visit. That's what Andy Bolton was doing in the last match when he dominated against Mitchell. Because what that's doing is it's always pushing your opponent to try and do that bit more. Because as players, we always try and have control of the match where possible.
We've seen James Hurrell hit 4 maximums tonight now. And by virtue of that maximum in his previous turn, he's giving him
97.
time. He's creating time for himself because of very effective scoring.
135. James, you require 24.
2 12s for 2-2. It's a chance for Bialeki to
Sebastian, you
stretch his
require
legs.
122.
This will be a monstrous break if he can find another 18. And the bullseye. It's
Goes on the
enormous from
fourth leg.
Bialeki.
Sebastian
He
Bialeki.
silences the Portsmouth crowd, and the pole now only needs one leg
Fifth leg, it's Sebastian
for
to throw
another
first.
match with
Game
Bolton
on.
here in week 7.
Before this match, I said one of two things could happen that will turn it. Someone will miss 3 darts at a double,
100.
or someone will take out a tumbleless finish. That was both, and both in the same exchange. An exchange that broke the throw of James Hurrell and will give Sebastian Bialeki 2 opportunities with throw to get this match won. He becomes big favourite from here.
123.
You said it with Henry. Hurrell has been here in every single stage of this event since we came here on September 3rd,
100.
2022. He still hasn't got that weekly win. He's had near misses. He doesn't want another near miss. He wants to come back in a month to play in the big game.
85.
He's going to do that. He's going to need Bialeki to slow down. Because if anything, he's starting to speed up.
137.
He doesn't get to a finish here. It could be over.
135.
He just about
Sebastian
gets there.
164.
A single, and he wouldn't have.
I was thinking one treble would cause the damage here for Bialeki. He's got 2 darts.
96.
Inflicts even more
James, you
punishment
require
on.
158.
It's a nice leave there from Sebastian. Can Hurrell return the favour with a big finish of his own? He can't. Bialeki will or should get at least 1 match dart.
This has been a quality display from the pole.
94.
He's used the advantage of throw to its
Sebastian, you
full
require 68.
possibility. Wow. He was caught in 2 minds there. I'm amazed he went for 16 and
28.
68. All week long, he's gone for the prudent play.
James, you require
But
64.
for some reason, I think he changed his mind.
And I did really emphasise the word should. Should be hitting the big number there. James Hurrell gets a reprieve. It will only be 1 dart.
32.
That might be that.
Sebastian, you require 40.
For the last 3 days, he's been leaving tops a lot more. And he has
Game
become
shot on
Sir
the match.
Tops-a-lot. He
Sebastian
might top the
Bialeki.
lot when it comes to the final, because it's going to be 4 matches between Bolton and Bialeki this week, and 1 more between them will give us your Week 7 winner. That really was a commanding display from Bialeki. 67% on the doubles, just like his opponent in the final. What he did in the semi, he also did as well. We're down to the final 2, and when we come back, it's time for the final between Andy and Sebastian.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where the final is going to be between Bolton and Bolt, as Sebastian Bialeki books his place into the finale. Matthew Edgar been watching all the action up here on the balcony. It was that cool, calm, considered nature of Bialeki and that just key timing of big moments that made the difference.
Yeah, that one leg, really. James Hurrell missed 3 darts to level it up. Bialeki goes up and takes out a 1-2-2, then was dominant from there on in. It was sort of a really tight, tense game, but Bialeki didn't look that way. It felt like it was watching it. It felt like it was for Hurrell. Bialeki was probably feeling it, but so poker-faced, and he looked so cool and collected. And for 19 years old, to be doing what he's doing, fantastic.
So say it's kind of match play experience beyond his years, isn't it?
Yeah, and he does have very good experience. He's played a couple of times in the UK Open. He hit a 9-darter. I said he got to the quarterfinals of the UK Open, but we can't forget on debut hitting a 9-dart finish at the UK Open. A lot of people on their careers earmark the UK Open as something to be as a first sort of stepping stone or a first big step into sort of TV darts. And it's a 9-darter. That is bottle.
It most certainly is. And bottle is what you've got to do to take out the big checkouts. A little bit like Sebastian Bialeki did in that second semi-final. And this was the one you thought was the best this week.
We finished in Southampton on the Friday. We started here on the Saturday night with launch night. No matter what happens over the next few years, Tian will always be the first. And Tommy Lishman's the first to get a 170 finish this week.
It was the big fish from Tommy Lishman that sealed this week's checkout of the week vote. We love a big fish being wheeled in here, don't we?
I think he enjoyed it as well. You could see the reaction. But I really enjoyed watching Tommy Lishman this week for the bits that I saw, certainly on Friday, because he represented the ADC system really, really well. A lot of times, because people know I'm involved with the MODUS Super Series, I get people ask, what do I need to average? What do I need to do to get to the MODUS Super Series? If you look at the averages of Tommy Lishman, it was nowhere near what we'd normally expect here at the MODUS Super Series. However, as soon as he got here, he then started to produce the darts, and he really fit in. He played some really good games, put some big wins in there, and the performance was really good along the week. I was impressed. He rose to the occasion, and that just goes to show that, yes, you might be averaging a little bit lower somewhere else, but when you come here and you play under proper conditions, because you've got to think the averages we're judging these players against aren't against professional conditions that we have here. We have proper conditions so you can prepare ready for events. Some of these events you're going to, some of these ranked events, there might only be 1 or 2 practice boards for a couple of hundred people. Here, it's right and it's good for peak performance.
Most certainly that. Well, that was one of the stars of this week. Let's see what's coming up next week, because the lineup for week 8 really is, well, I think it's up there with maybe the best that we've seen at the Super Series. The defending champion Luke Little is back. Leonard Gates is back. You've got Andy Bartons, who I think may possibly be the most exciting debutant we've seen in this competition for a long, long while.
We had a discussion last week when Barry Van Peer was here. We said, who's the best player in the world? I said it's between 3 people. I said Barry Van Peer, Andy Bartons and Luke Littler. We saw Barry last week. We're going to see the other 2 next week. But it's not even just looking at the players at the top end of that. We've also got to look at other players in that group, such as James Richardson. We know what he's capable of, what he's done around the world, but also what he's done at this venue. He's putting some big averages, 115 at times. So we know that actually the depth is there this week. It's not just a case of going, pick out the players at the top and go, wow, we've got a good headline acts, but the depth for that Group A. Gert de Vos, former tour card holder, he's won a title on the BDO. He's also in that Group A. This is going to be competitive at the highest level. And you've got to think some of these guys have got to go into that Group C.
And you look at who's coming into Group C as well. A man who came within a leg of picking up the big check in Series 2 in Matt Clark.
Matt Clark coming in Group C. Lee Cox played very well last time he was here. Harry Ward, a former Pro Tour champion. David Cameron, the defending seniors Masters champion as well. It is just littered with talent all over. And it's going to be such a hard week to predict. I'm just glad I'm not here trying to answer that question next week.
And Kieran Tian, who of course won the first ever night under this roof in Portsmouth. So we are almost ready to go for the final here, and the winner is hoping to join an illustrious club in Champions Week in a few weeks' time. We are midway through the process now of seeing who is going to make it to the big occasion at the end of July and the beginning of August. And You look at who's in there already. Bay Van Peer, many people argue, is the best player in the world without a tour card at the minute. Steve West, CV, speaks to himself. Neil Duff's the reigning WDF world champion. And Danny Lauby, one of America's finest.
It's a cracking lineup so far. But also, when you look at that lineup for next week, it just shows how exciting this is going to be, because we've got 6 great names so far, but we're going to get 6 more great names. We're going to add another one to that tonight, and whoever that is out of this next match is going to look perfectly in that lineup.
Well, let's preview that final then as Andy Bolton takes on Sebastian Bialeki. Andy Bolton came so close to picking up the top prize in Series 3. He made it to the final in week 4 and was only deposed by Scott Taylor, who averaged 109.31 in that respective final. So, on that proposition, is this potentially a revenge mission for Andy Bolton tonight?
Possibly. He certainly would have came here with a point to prove to himself, not to any of us. We know what he's capable of. We know what Andy Bolton can do. It's something inside that he would want to go that one step further, especially being in this situation again. However, he's playing a player who could do exactly the same thing to him that Scott Taylor did. Bialeki has a very, very high ceiling. We've spoke all week about his achievements outside of this arena, and I would not be surprised to see those transfer into here. And if he goes and puts in a big 100-plus average, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And
when you look at Sebastian Bialeki, it doesn't look at any stage, any occasion is going to faze him at all.
No, nothing seems to bother him. He seems to just put this par level of performance in. But what we're seeing more and more, certainly tonight, is being able to raise it at the right moments. He's certainly shown no signs of frailty at times. He's been very in control, but so was Andy Bolton in the semi-final. And at that point, I said to Paul Nicholson on commentary, screw up the notes, forget the averages. This is about bottle. And 2 players stood up and shown it, but only one of them can win.
Well, let's get the thoughts of the asset now. He's down in the commentary box ahead of tonight's final. What do you think is going to be the key differences in this game, Paul?
Well, I think one thing is for sure. Obviously, earlier in the week, Sebastian Bialeki is the only person to have beaten Andy Bolton in this week at all. And I think maybe Andy has remembered that. He is someone who likes to play with a little bit of fire. And I think the biggest thing in this final is a little bit of redemption for Bolton, because when he was close to winning in the previous series, I think that hurt him, that performance from Scott Taylor. And when you have that memory, you have that sitting right in front of you, and you get the chance to put it right, you don't want to scupper it. And Andy will start as the marginal favourite for me, but I get the feeling we could be in for a really long, tight final.
Paul, thank you very much. We'll let you get ready for commentary duties ahead of that final. The players are on stage now, and Paul was mentioning down in the booth the head-to-head record. In that Group A campaign, Andy Bolton was only beaten by Sebastian Bialeki. He won both his games tonight. He's the only player all week to have beaten the X Factor.
In another game, in another scenario, I'd probably read quite a lot into that. But I'm one of these people that when it comes to this sort of situation, that doesn't quite matter, because it's a completely different game. That game was for points. This game's for a lot of pounds, and that changes the whole complexion.
Can you call this one? Which way do you think, and who do you think is going to lift that cup?
I'm not going to say who's going to win, but I'm going to tell you it's going to be 4-3.
Is going to be a tightly contested final here in Week 7 at the MODUS Super Series. We are passing the halfway point towards Series 4 Champions Week here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth, and we cannot wait to get the action underway. It sees the precocious young Pole, Sebastian Bialeki, in action up against the X Factor, Andy Bolton, who's looking to be top of the charts and get redemption following a final defeat in Series 3. Matthew Edgar is going to make his way down to the commentary box to describe all of the action in the company of the asset, Paul Nicholson.
Thank you once again, Henry. This is the final match of the week, and it will be contested between Scotland and Poland. And it is between this man who won Group A earlier in the week. He hasn't lost a lot of matches this week. In fact, he has now only lost twice all week after playing 18 games. That's not a bad recovery when it comes to playing the amount of games that you do in this week, and your win percentage is over 90%. It is miraculous when you think about it.
First leg, it's Andy to throw first. Game on.
But the thorn in his side was Sebastian Bialeki in the first 3 days of the week. He beat him 4-2 on Monday. Then he succumbed to him 4-2 and 4-3 in the next couple of days. And that's a message sent with the first 3 darts. Welcome back, Matt Edgar, and welcome to the final.
Well, that's some way to walk through a door, isn't it? You walk through to a maximum visit to kick things off. That focus on the face of Andy Bolton.
57.
I think that's one thing that the experience gives you, the ability to sort of come in and out of concentration on demand.
180.
This could be the best final we've ever seen, judging by the start. Andy's probably thinking, don't you dare do this to me again.
59.
And I'm not talking about Sebastian, I'm talking about the final situation. 109.31 the average of Scott Taylor went. Andy was beaten in that final in the previous series.
96.
That final did not take long. But on this occasion, he's undefeated tonight. So is Sebastian.
59.
Someone
require 125.
can't keep that going. Someone won't, but someone will.
105.
Big ask.
And he require 146.
If he hits this, we might even get one of those X Factor wiggles.
Andy Bolton threw first in this leg and kicked off with a 180. He might not even get a shot at a finish.
Sebastian, you require 20. Game show.
Amazing start.
Sebastian
Andy won the
Bialeki.
bull in the practice room in the only bullseye shootout of the week. It's now been rendered pointless.
Second against Sebastian
now.
to throw first. Game on.
If you offered Andy Bolton 3-3 right now, he would take it because he would have the darts in the last leg. But what is going through the veins of this
119.
cold-blooded darting killer from Poland? Won 4-1 in the semi-finals and put in his best performance of the entire night.
100.
If you look at his nightly average of 87.06, it's not that dissimilar to Andy's of 86.75. And I know you're not invested in the stats for the night, but the
98.
improvement throughout the night from Sebastian, it is evident. He's gone from an 82 average winning, 86 to 92.
92.
And already, this is better than that.
And already he's done the biggest job of them all. And let's get the advantage of the throw. It is a very short format game. And you're playing at the sort of level that these guys are.
If you're looking for signs, how about the doubling for the night? Bialeki, 43%.
96.
Compared to Andy's 36%. Things are pointing towards Bialeki for now. But it's all about the situation that they're in.
134.
Not the situation they have been in.
Like I mentioned to Henry, the context of the game is so different because the ones previously
100.
was for points.
Sebastian, you require
This is
91.
for a lot of pounds. A big jump in prize money here.
25 scored, yeah.
And a chance at more. 2 9s.
73.
Just had a chance for
And
the
he
halfway
require
mark.
113.
He needs to rescue himself with a break back.
93.
That looked really good in the air.
Sebastian, you require 18.
Sometimes you throw a dart and you think it's in. I have the feeling that Andy thought when that left his hand it was in.
No score. And he
But a
requires
miss
20.
from Bialeki. And that good work in the last leg when he broke the throw might all be undone.
Game show on the
It is.
second leg. Andy Bolton.
Andy survives and he gets his first leg in his Super Series final career. Because he was done
Third
to
against
nil the
Andy
last
to throw
time
first. Game on.
he was in a final. Bialeki will not show his emotions in this final. Andy will.
140.
The numerical value of pounds on offer is an additional £2,500. They are guaranteed that amount of money.
96.
But the winner will get 5,000 and the golden invitation to come back at the end of July.
100.
The way that Bolton's been playing over the last 6 months or so, you would expect him to be in a Champions Week this year.
100.
He's currently ranked 8th in the Challenge Tour averages list. Bialeki is just behind him in 13th. We're talking about some of the elite players in the second level of the game.
Well, Andy Bolton's been qualifying for quite a lot of European tours via the associate member route, and he is also qualified for a European tour that is coming up later in the year. A little bit of a run in that event, and he could make the European Championships.
110.
That would be a big achievement if he was to do that.
58. And he requires 32.
There's 12 darts.
Game shot
Leaves
the
himself
further.
on the double and
Andy
takes it
Bolton.
in one. A 13 darter to hold. And that just swops away the challenge there of Sebastian Bialeki.
Sebastian to throw first.
Has he weathered the storm? Or is there another storm coming?
100.
We do live in an era where storms have fancy names. Some of them are not so fancy.
97.
Storm Sebastian sounds a bit more ominous than Storm Andy. But it depends how you look at it.
100. 97.
I mentioned how he controlled the last match, not with blistering brilliance, but just finding a treble each throw.
140.
You know how you mentioned that Andy Bolton is going to be taking part in a European tour event?
44.
So is
Sebastian
Sebastian.
require
He's going to be
161.
playing in Budapest at the end of September.
$137.
You said it was going to be 4-3. You couldn't pitch your tent on a player, but you did so on a score.
59.
Not for the first time tonight.
Sebastian, you require
I'm in
24.
full agreement.
Game
The last
shot on the
leg was a
foreplay.
13 darter
Sebastian
for Andy Bolton.
Bialeki.
And you thought that might be the moment he's going to start opening up in this match. Sebastian Bialeki hits back with a 13 darter of his own.
It's Andy to
Both
throw
opening their
first.
shoulders. Just how important will it be that Andy has the throw in 2 of the 3 remaining legs?
100.
You can see that the Farmy Army is no longer here, and our crowd has somewhat halved.
Hey,
But these people want to see who wins this week. The trophy is on the stage, and somebody's fingerprints are going to be placed on it in the next 10 minutes.
140.
Maybe 12.
What's happening right now is the player with the throw is putting in a big performance.
140.
She's forcing the opponent into 12 or less.
The reason I mentioned that Hungarian Darts Trophy qualification for Sebastian
140.
is because in the final game to make that tournament, he beat a Super Series player in Vyacheslav Sedlak of Czechia. But in that final, he averaged over 104
and he required 121.
in 7 legs. He could still do that in this game. But it looks more likely that he'll have to win the last 2 legs of the contest to get the victory.
81.
Or will there be another twist?
99.
Something along the lines of
And he required 40.
somebody missing 3 darts at double. Double 10.
30.
He does miss. What a
Sebastian
chance.
required 92.
To break the throw at probably the most crucial moment. He's going to need a treble. Can't find it, so Andy Bolton
76.
bit of a let off here.
And he required
Double
10.
5 can often get messy.
Game show on the 5th leg.
Not
Andy
very
Bolton.
messy at all. And there's the first wiggle of the week. I get the feeling if he gets another leg, the wiggle
6th
will
leg, it's
get
Sebastian
wigglier.
to throw first. Game on.
Every game they've played
99.
this week has gone a minimum of 6 legs. They've almost written the story of week 7, these two. But somebody will remain standing when one
140.
person has to leave the stage. Is it going to be another chapter of the apprenticeship of Sebastian?
100.
Where he will have a near miss? Or will it be a long-awaited weekly title for Bolton?
100.
He's living every dart. Has he got much left in that shoulder?
Whatever he's got left, he's going to give every single ounce of it to try and get this weekly
132.
title. Great thinking and great application there as well from Bialeki to leave himself on what we've just seen is checkout of the week.
The only 170 of the week.
100.
Came
Sebastian
from Tommy
required
Lishman.
170.
Another?
Game
what a
show on
time
the
for a
6th
max
leg.
finish.
Sebastian Bialeki.
Wow. What a crescendo to leg 6. And what a crescendo
7th
to the
and
week
final
we're
leg, it's
about
Andy
to
to
have.
throw first. Game on.
Bolton has the darts off the back of watching Bialeki finding the biggest finish of the lot.
And that was a
100.
12-dart leg. He joins checkout of the week, but that one's got more context to it. That was in the biggest game of the week. That's in the final
100.
in a situation where if he'd have missed that, he could have lost the week.
Game of the week, undoubtedly, James Hurrell and Scott Mitchell. The average was massive in that game.
97.
But if you add context, it's all about this game. This is the best game of the week. And we are very close to finding out who joins the
58.
6-person pack for Champions Week.
$140.
Big darts at a big time. Bialeki can't leave a finish from 3-4-3. Was the big push, was the 170 in vain.
And he recorded
Andy
164.
Bolton, 6 darts at 164 to resist the charge from Bialeki,
100.
who's averaging over 100 in this final.
$57. And he requires 64.
Opportunity for the weekly title. It'll be 2 darts at double 8, and he only needs the one.
And the week 7
Andy
MODUS
Bolton
Super
wins
Series champion.
the week 7 title.
Andy Bolton.
Last time he was here, he was the runner-up. He missed out to 109 average. It looked like it was going to go the same way. Sebastian Bialeki, for a lot of that match, running over the 100 average. He hit back with a 13-darter to reprieve against the 13-darter of Andy Bolton. He hit the big 170 finish towards the end with a 12-dart leg. He pushed him all the way, but in the last leg, a 14-darter from Andy Bolton was more than enough to push him over the line. He picks up the title. £5,000 goes the way of Andy Bolton. He also gets a place into Champions Week, where he'll be coming back to play for £20,000. He is the 7th man in the list 12 players will be coming back in a couple of weeks' time as we now hand over to our presentation party.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please show your appreciation for this week's winner, Andy Bolton? And now to present the trophy, would you please welcome to the stage the asset, Paul Nicholson.
Well, Andy Bolton, many, many congratulations to you for picking up the trophy. I'll just bring you over here. We'll have a quick chat with you. Many, many congratulations. Well done on winning week 7. You were here last time. You came so close against Scott Taylor in the final. This time, you're into Champions Week. Well done.
Well, but when he clocked that 170 for 3 each, I'm like, oh, deja vu. I'm like, and I felt like it was a really good game. It was like, you know, it was really steady, and I think winning the ball was massive in the end. And yeah, I think I don't know if every leg went with throw, but just a relief. Like, I'm so relieved. Like,
when that 170 goes in, Sebastian's the only player this week to have beaten you. In the back of your mind, are you thinking possibly here we go again? Because Sebastian's done that to you a couple of times.
Yeah, I think a couple of times. Obviously, he's beaten me twice this week, I think, and. I just remember back, sorry Gary, but with Gary Stone beat me in the group stages, and you know, this is the big night. You know, this is if you lose a game, you go home tonight, sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, I just love it there. I think it's brilliant. Like, it's really helped me having a couple of days off. I've still felt like I've struggled a little bit, but the first game against James, I was so nervous. Like, it's definitely the most nervous I've been while I've been here. But, yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing.
We can tell. Paul, you've been watching this final. What was your take on Andy's performance?
Stunning performance. I think his grit and determination this week has been first class. And to beat everybody that you've faced this week, it's got to make you feel good.
Yeah, I mean, to look at the group, I thought it was a tough group. I thought Group A was... I don't want to think, but like, you know, there was 3 or 4 guys that I really knew that, you know, were big tests, and then the people that came in on Thursday were like, wow, you know, I'm kind of glad they weren't in Group A, if you like. I think I looked because I had a couple of days spare. I had a look at the ranking tables and that, and there was like 4 guys in the top 16 of the Challenge Tour that were in the final tonight, and then Owen Bates would have made 5, but he didn't even qualify. And yeah, I'm just like buzzing really. You know, I felt like I missed out last time because, you know, a great performance from Scott, and that's what he was capable of. And when I did my interview earlier, I knew there was 2 or 3 guys that were capable of one of them performances. But yeah, it's warm up here as well. So warm for a fat old guy.
What was the conditions like? Because obviously it's in the summer heat. Do you have to kind of adapt the way you prepare for games to deal with the conditions?
It's so different. The last time I was here, it was the winter. So we were going back to the players' room for a heat, and then we were coming up here and it was freezing. Whereas this time it's like so warm, and then the air conditioning's on in the players' room, so you go back for a cool down. And you know, when you're a little bit overweight and a little bit whatever, you're just so happy for a cool down.
I've got some good news and some bad news, Andy. The good news is you're coming back in just over a month to play in Champions Week for a chance at 20 grand. But the bad news is it's probably going to be hotter then. So is this experience going to help that?
Well, I go on holiday actually in 2 weeks or something. I come back. I'm going on a cruise from Southampton. I come back, I land in Southampton, so as long as I'm in for the week, I'll just basically get off the ferry and I'll have topped up the time, so everything will be great. And yeah, I just hope they've got a dartboard on the ferry, really, so because I'll need to have a practice. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm absolutely, I don't know if you can tell, I am buzzing. Like, my little boy Bailey will be at home, like, he's playing darts tomorrow, he's leaving at 7 o'clock, he's only 12, but he'll be up tonight, hopefully. he'll have watched that, and that'll bring him on. But like, yeah, I'm relief, I think, is the thing. You know, last time I got. Sorry, am I talking too much?
No, feel free.
If you're talking more than Henry, you're doing something right. Yeah?
There's an issue there.
No, but like, yeah, I'm just, the relief. I know I'm playing, you know, it's weird, but this is like it's a massive stepping stone. I have like, my career is over such a long period of time, and you know, I always feel, oh, I just miss out, or things don't go my way, and you know, finally, and maybe this is like a catalyst for things to come. But I'm really enjoying the year as it's gone so far, and yeah, this is like massive hats off to all of you involved. That like, it's brilliant, Danny. I love it.
Well, we've enjoyed having you here, Andy. Many congratulations. We'll let you go and enjoy the celebrations. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Bolton. Woo! Many congratulations. Paul, I'll just have a quick chat with you just to sum up what we've seen as Andy Bolton celebrates there with the trophy. To be honest, on Dart 1, he was the big favourite, wasn't he? The expectation, everything that happened, of course, the last time he was here. And you know what? He's absolutely backed it up, hasn't he?
Absolutely. A weekly brilliant performance. And I just go back to what I said about him beating everybody that's been put in front of him. It reminds me of Lennox Lewis. He beat everybody that he ever boxed. And when you can go to bed that night and say, do you know what, everybody that was put in front of me this week, I was able to beat them. And at the end, he was tested so much by Bialeki, who hit him with everything he had. But ultimately, Andy was right. Winning that bullseye in the practice room was enormous.
Well, Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you this week. Thank you so much for your company over the last 6 days. And the best bit, we do it all again on Monday morning. And my goodness, have we got a lineup for you. The defending champion is going to be back to try and reclaim the crown. Luke Little is going to be in action. Leonard Gates always entertains us here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. And we've got a former runner-up at Champions Week, Matt Clark, in action. So we see you for that Monday morning, 9:30, the action begins. But as far as week 7's concerned, Andy Bolton, well, he just had that X factor, didn't he? Take care. Bye-bye for now.